just a little bit more to do. All right, I want you on one knee, your other leg extended, and lean slightly forward from the hips. Let your arms just drop naturally down, and then pulling those weights up with a row action. So working into our upper back area. Down under your legs and pull it up. Down, pull up. Good. It's important that you've got that slight tilt forward at the hips to really focus in on the upper back. Otherwise, if you're upright, you're working into your shoulders, which is fine, but we've done quite a bit of work on our shoulders already so far today. So leaning forward just moves that workout more into the upper back area. Good. Just a few more. Squeeze those muscles between the shoulder blades. Excellent. All right, relax. Can you lie down on your backs now? Lie down and bending your knees. We're going to work through the chest area with some chest presses. So imagine you're in the gym, you're lying down, you've got a massive barbell. All right, you're going to press it up over your chest. So bend the elbows, that's the way, Cherie, and directly over the midline of the chest. Not drifting those weights back around the neck or the face area, but directly above your chest. Push up and down till the elbows come close to the floor and then pressing up. See how Julia's got her arms nice and wide, 90 degrees at the elbow joint as she bends down. That's a perfect position. And pressing up. Down and press right up. Good. So strengthening through the pectoral muscles here in the chest. You know what I like to say when I do this one? I must firm my bust. I must. You can say that to yourself and see if that helps motivate you. All right, take it into a fly action now. Take the arms fully up over the chest and turn those bottles around. Out to the side with just a slight bend at the elbow and then hugging up over the chest again. Good. Still working through the chest. You'll feel a little bit of pressure too through your bicep area. Good. Squeeze. Now, even if your weights are really light, what you can do is imagine you've got, it could be a big armful of chocolate mousse and you're squashing all the way through it. Sometimes by using those mental pictures, you can visualize and just add a little bit more to your workout. Squeeze it in. Is it chocolate or strawberry mousse? Chocolate. Caramel mousse. We're getting fussy now. All right, take those arms directly up above the chest. Put your water bottles together and extend your top of your bottle toward your forehead and then up. We're doing a tricep extension, back and up. Now, it's important that your elbows are pointing up at the sky or up at your ceiling and you're bringing the water bottle toward the forehead. Cherie's working here into the back of her arm. Good. If that gets a little bit heavy, you can just drop one bottle, hold the other, and use the one arm. Good. Can you feel that in the back of the arms? Great. So down and lift it up. A great tricep workout. Just a couple more. 1, 2. You can put those weights away. You've done well. But we're not quite through. Rolling over onto your knees. Can we do some push-ups together? Hands on the ground. Extend your knees back and drop and lift. Still working the chest area. Drop and lift. Being careful to keep a nice flat back and not to sway your back in the middle. To do that, you've got to keep your tummy nice and tight. So hold it tight, down and up. Who wants to do advanced push-ups on their toes? Not today, Cherie. How about you, Julia? Just a couple for us. You could try a couple of these. They may be too difficult. Maybe one a day, and each day you'll find you can do an extra one. That'll be plenty, Julia. Beautiful. Dropping in now, tricep push-ups on your knees. Keep your elbows really tight. Drop and lift. Drop. It's important that your elbows stay really close to your rib cage. You've worked really hard, a great upper body workout. We've had our heart rates up. We've been using our water bottles. We deserve a drink. Why don't you have one with us and join us next time? You girls did great.
NTV, turning on your world.
It's too complicated. You're my son's father. I don't want to have an affair with you,
I don't want an affair with you either.
But it's so sad. It's really sad because the two of you were a perfect couple.
I understand now.
If you have a date for tonight, please cancel it because I want to see you.
How long will you give up your happiness?
It's inevitable that sooner or later I'm going to bump into the two of you, and I want to be prepared for it.
Why do you insist in going so far with the story, knowing that you'll be the biggest loser?
Zimudde eby'Amerika okulagira amagye ga UPDF okwamuka eggwanga eryo. Omubaka wa South Sudan atuula kuno Samuel Wate agamba nti Amerika esaana okukimanya nti Uganda ne South Sudan mawanga ageetongodde era agasobola okwesalirawo. Ministry ya kuno ey'ensonga z'ebweru nayo egamba nti Amerika erabika enyumya mu bunyumya. Olunaku lwajjo gavumenti ya Amerika yafulumiza ekiwandiiko ng'eragira amagye amagwira gonna gave mu South Sudan oba sikyo gakukajjuutuka. Eggulire eryo tugenda dikutuusaako mu ddakiika ntono nnyo. Katsooke n'abamu ku babaka abamu Parliament ab'oku ludda oluwabula gavumenti abafuukuuse emmeeme olw'ababaka bannaabwe ab'akabondo ka NRM okuvaayo jjo ne bategeeza nti baagala President Museveni yeesimbewo ku lw'ekibiina nga tavuganyiziddwa mu kulonda kwa 2016. Bano bagamba nti President alabika afuuse kitaayi ekitava ku ssengejjero. Kyokka minisita akola ku guno na Goli Richard Tadwong abasekerera n'ategeeza nti n'abategeeza nga bwe batasaana kuzimba mitima kubanga NRM kibiina ekyetongodde ekirina n'eddembe okukola kyekyagala.
Olunaku lw'eggulo ababaka b'akabondo ka NRM abali kati mu lusirika ekyankwanzi bakkaanyiza n'ekya President Museveni okwesimbawo nga tafunye kuvuganyizibwa kwonna okuva mu kibiina kye mu kalulu ak'omwaka ogw'2016. Ekiteeso kino kyaleeteddwa omubaka w'abavubuka mu mambuka g'eggwanga Evelyn Anite Kajik ne kiwagirwa omubaka wa Makindye East John Simbwa. Ababaka b'oludda olwabula gavumenti bagambye nti okusalawo kw'ababaka ba NRM kabonero ak'enkukunala akalaga ng'enkola eya demokrasiya bweserebye mu ggwanga. Bagamba nti okusalawo kuno tekusaana kukolebwa kakundi kano kokka.
Lwaki NRM abantu beerina bonna tubalaba lwaki tebagala kuteekamu omuntu akompitinga ne Museveni?
Kimanyi nti buli mmemba wa NRM alina ebisaanyizo alina eddembe okwesimbawo naye olw'okwagala ekyo okukijjamu amaanyi n'asooka nti yeesoose yenze neesoose ekiteeso kyange n'olukitewabaayo omulala yenna ajja okuneesimbako. Naye nga kano ke kabonero akalaga lwaki President yalina okugobawo n'obo Barnabas Tinkasiimire kubanga mukijjukira ye yamubuuza nti owange musajja mukulu emyaka 3 tokoowa. Yalina okugobawo ne Bonsereko, yalina okugobawo ne Wilfred Nwagaba, yalina okugobawo no Ssekikubo kubanga tetwanditudde mu caucus ne tuleka effujjo ng'eryo ne tuleka obwannakigwanyizi ng'obwo ne bugenda mu maaso nga tetubusoma.
Abamu ku babaka bano bagamba nti Museveni asaana nnyuke aleke n'abalala bakwate enkasi kubanga emyaka gimuwubidde akatambaala.
Museveni kati 2017 ajja kuba emyaka ajja kuba ng'agiweze. Ate constitution yaffe egamba emyaka 75.
Nti bajja kugamba nti waliwo abalala basobola nga Speaker Rebecca Kadaga oba Prime Minister Mama Mbabazi basobola okwesimbawo ku kifo kya President. Naye bo bagamba nti President yongera mu maaso eyo nsobi.
wabula minisita akola ku guno naguli Richard Todong agamba nti aboogera bwe bati nsaalwa yebatta era nga tebalaba birungi Museveni byakoledde eggwanga.
And indeed is going to continue, and within NRM no one is going to dare to compete against him because we want him overwhelmingly. We support him and we want him to continue holding the party together, holding the national vision and building unity in Uganda. Those are the reasons we want the president to continue.
Abantu ba bulijjo nabo baliko endowooza ze bawadde ku nsonga eno.
Kitegeeza bali ku saakasi waabwe bali ku byabwe nga byabwe. Watya senga Nneka evaayo n'egamba nti bo tebasemba kiteeso ekyo.
President Museveni nga ye yandibadde yabiwumula ebyobufuzi. Ababaka ba palamenti ne bateeseza ebintu ebirala.
Yandibadde ava ku byobufuzi. N'alekera naye n'abalala abakyali abato. Nabo ne bakola kine tulaba ebirowoozo byabwe.
Waliwo ebibadde bijja byogerwa nti Ssaabaminisita John Patrick Amama Mbabazi ne Speaker Rebecca Kadaga be bamu ku beegwanyiza entebe y'obwa pulezidenti wadde nga bano tebavangayo mu butongole.
NTV akawungeziye Major General Benon Biraro ngono yakanyuka amagye g'eggwanga ategeezezza nga bw'agenda okwesimbawo ku bwa president mu 2016. Biraro agamba nti yatandise dda okukuŋŋaanya emikono okuwandiisa ekibiina ekipya kyatuumye Peace and National Unity. Major General Biraro yabadde omu ku baawaddeyo ensimbi okuyambako mu kuzimba amasiro g'e Kasubi ku mukolo ogwabadde mu kibuga Mbarara ku weekend.
Abeegwanyiza obukulembeze bwa Uganda mu kuwonda kwa 2006 bakyeyongera wadde nga bakyabula yakabanga Major General Benon Biraro nga yawummula amagye ategeeza nga bali mu kunoonya emikono okuwandiisa ekibiina kye. Ono yategeeza ddanga bagenda okuvuganya ku bukulembeze bw'eggwanga.
Ndiyo nkozere ekibiina ky'obutegetsi ekirikwetwa Peace and National Unity hati ndiyo muninjirondera signatures.
Ndabasiima ebbanga lyaweereza.
Major General Biraro yabadde ku mukolo Katikkiro kwe yakyalidde ab'Embalala okubatikkula ettaffaali ly'amasiro agamba nti ayagala nnyo Uganda yeegasse era n'atendereza nnyo Ssekabaka Muteesa yasooka olw'okubeera n'omwoyo bwe gutyo.
Omunya-Uganda orabeyireho namba emwe ni King Muteesa the first.
Kino kikubireko engalo akisiimye.
Yahandiikira ebbaraha Bungereza eyaligiremu Uganda yoona okwegayitana Luganda tukaba Uganda. Mitwaleze yange ndi unionist nka Ssekabaka Muteesa omuberiberi.
Ono agamba nti mu magye basomesebwa okwagala obuwangwa nga n'olwekyo wabaawo omuntu yenna atabangula Buganda tasobola kutuula.
Ow'amagye ayagala heritage yaffe agidefendinga agifiira. So if anybody was to disturb Uganda, I would be soldier number 1 because I love the unity of Uganda.
Akkaatirizza obukulu bwa Buganda mu Uganda eyawamu.
Haza omutuma gwa Uganda no Buganda. Kubaasa kugwiha mbiri. Kano mbiri zokugwihaho omutuma. Kyona nikiguma kiri kimwe.
Kinajjukira nti olunaku lw'eggulu akabondo k'ababaka ba NRM akali kati Kyankwanzi kakkaanyiza okwegera President Museveni okwesimbawo ku kisanja ekirala nga tavuganyiziddwa okuva mu kibiina kye.
Eyo ye NTV akawungezi. Government ya South Sudan ezimudde eby'Amerika okulagira amagye ga UPDF okwamuka eggwanga eryo. Omubaka wa South Sudan atuula kuno Samuel Luwate agamba nti America esaana okukimanya nti Uganda ne South Sudan mawanga ageetongodde era agasobola okwesalirawo. Ministry eyakuno ey'ensonga z'ebweru nayo egamba nti America erabika enyumya mbunyumya. Olunaku lwajjo gavumenti ya America yafulumiza ekiwandiiko ng'eragira amagye gonna amagwira gave mu South Sudan oba si kyo gaakukajjotoka.
The government of the Republic of South Sudan is a sovereign country. And it's a country that it decides the matters of who is in South Sudan and who is to remain and who is to get out.
Gavumenti ya South Sudan eggwanga eryettongodde era nga lirina okusalawo ekyenkomeredde kwani alina okulibeeramu.
Bwatyo Samuel Wright nga ye mubaka wa South Sudan mu Uganda bw'ayanukudde gavumenti ya America eyavuddeyo olunaku lw'eggulo netegeeza nga amagye gonna amagwira gali mu ggwanga lya South Sudan bwe gasaanye okwamuka eggwanga lino mu bunnambiro. Omubaka Wright agamba nti America esaanye okumanya nti amawanga gombi Uganda ne South Sudan galiko enzikiriziganya gye gatuukako okulaba nga embeera mu ggwanga lino tesajjuka.
These forces were invited by a genuine democratic elected country.
amagye ga UPDF gayitibwa gavumenti yalondebwa abantu ekulemberwa Salva Kiir era nga yalina okusalawo ku nsonga eno.
To decide over whether these forces that are in South Sudan will live now or not.
America mu kiwandiiko kyafulumiza ng'eyita mu ofiisi y'ebyamawulire egamba nti erina okutya nti singa amagye amagwira gasigala mu ggwanga lya South Sudan kyandizigamya entezeganya ez'emirembe ezigenda mu maaso. Uganda nayo evuddeyo n'etangaza ku nsonga eno n'etegeeza nga amagye gaayo okubeera mu ggwanga lya South Sudan bwe kiri mu mutima gw'obwa Sseruganda.
President we Sudan yatusaba naffe ne tukkiriza ne tusindikayo amagye gamwe ne gabayambako okutereeza ensi yaabwe.
Senge nkyabagamba nti kakati tumaze tweterezeza bano abaagala betugamba balina okutuula ku meeza boogedde bakkiriziganyiza embeereze mu nteeko ate tuba tukolayo ki.
In fact, people in Addis Ababa, the AU, were very clear to us.
Abakulira ekibiina ekigatta amawanga ga Africa abatula mu ggwanga lya Ethiopia baasanyuka nnyo bwe twagenda Sudan okutaasa embeera.
That would respond like UPDF.
Uganda efuna obukadde obusoba mu $500 ebya dola za America mu musolo saako n'ezo bannayuganda abakolera mu ggwanga lya South Sudan ze baweereza kuno.
Abantu bange ab'embaale be balwaninga akatale mu Southern Sudan batunda obutunda, batunda kasooli, batunda lumonde, batunda carrots, ebintu ng'ebyo. Naye bw'otunuulira ensi endala nga Kenya, banna banks, banna construction farms, eza gavumenti entuufu, ne Somalia, ne Eritrea, bw'onkomparinga bizinesi zaffe n'eza bannaffe bali bulungi nnyo era bakola bizinesi zamu.
So abantu bagenda nkulwabwe olw'okunyumirwa okunaawuza entalo era byonna ebinaavaamu muzatali percussion be bavunaanyizibwako.
Mu lutuula lw'amawanga ageegattira mu mukago gwa IGAD kyakkanyizibwako nti eggye ly'abasirikale 15,500 ligunjibwewo nga lino lyakuva mu mawanga ag'okusemazinga wa Africa okulaba nga liyambako okuzza embeera mu nteeko. Zo enteziganya ez'okuzza emirembe mu ggwanga lya South Sudan zizzeemu olwaleero mu kibuga Addis Ababa ekya Ethiopia wakati w'ekibiina kya Salva Kiir n'eyali omumyuka we Riek Machar.
NTV akawungezi. Poliisi mu Kampala etandise okunoonyereza ku kampuni egula n'okutunda ettaka eya Hosanna Real Estates. Kino kiddiridde abaagula ettaka ku kampuni eno okutegeeza nga bwe babaguza empeewo nga kati bagibanja obukadde obusobako mu 300.
My receipts. I transferred in 2012. Isedinga enzigalo oba temulimu n'abantu nti bawera nti bakuyamba bulungi. Faces ze naali manyika tezikyaliwo.
Okuva 2011 tubadde tujja wano ku office like intervals of 1 month. Nenga bojjanga bayongerayo myezi 2 mu maaso.
Bano be bamu ku bantu abagamba nti bafunanga byapa byabwe wadde nga basasula ssente eri kampuni ya Hosanna Real Estates. Poliisi erabye biri bityo kwe kuyingira mu nsonga zino ng'egamba nti kampuni eno ebanjibwa obukadde 326.
Gwe tunoonya y'omu ku directors abasatu ye Vincent Kafeero abasinga bonna endagaano zaabwe yazisaako emikono wamala okufuna ssente ze n'ateekako kakoko atendekanyuma n'abula naye nga mulimu directors abalala bateekwa okutubuulira kikibamanyiiko.
Ettaka eryogerwako lyagula mu bitundu eby'enjawulo omuli Kajjansi, Gayaza ne Kachiri. Abemulugunya bagamba baligula mu mwaka gwa 2010.
Naye ensonga yange ebyapa ebibiri ebirala byasigala kubanga natandika kugula wano 2010 ne kati tebiriiwo.
Tugenze ku office za Hosanna Real Estates ewandegeya ne bakkiriza nti waliwo ababanja naye nga ssente si nnyingi nga poliisi bwetegeeza.
Poliisi kyeyogera nti batubanja zonna ssente teziwera ate nga abasaba ssente most of the time bakooye okulinda kuba client ajja nannyonnyola n'agamba ayagala ttaka lyo bakyapa sometimes mugamba gumiikirizako kati bwakoowa ogumiikiriza alabanga mmwe abatamufuddeeko n'agenda n'aripotinga ku poliisi.
Batubulidde ekyaviirako ebyapa bya bakasitoma baabwe okulwawo.
Kuze twagalawo kema bega twali tufiiriddwa munnaffe abadde transferring ebyapa byaffe bamuyita Emoit Vincent yafa era yatuza nnyo emabega kuba all along abadde transferring ebyapa bya company naye nga otherwise we have not closed and we are not running away.
Enkaayana z'ettaka zikyasennya ensangi zino ng'abantu batunda ery'empewo ko abalala okusengulwa mu bukyamu wadde ng'etteeka lyayita. Kimuli Ivan Kigozi, NTV akawungezi.
Webale nnyo Kimuli Ivan Kigozi. Mu mawulire amalala olukiiko lwa Buganda olwaleero lutudde omulundi ogusookedde ddala omwaka guno Mu lukiiko luno omuwanika wa Buganda asomye embalirira y'emyezi 6 egisembayo mu mwaka gw'ebyensimbi ogwa 2013-2014. Embalirira eno eriyo mu buwumbi 9. Waliwo n'amakubo agateereddwawo omunaayitibwa okufuna ensimbi era nga ababaka baagala ne gavumenti esasule ku bbanja ery'obuwumbi 9 lyerina.
Ng'asoma embalirira ya Buganda ey'emyezi 6 egisooka mu mwaka guno nga yabuwumbi 9 n'obukadde 641, omuwanika wa Buganda Eva Nagawa Mukasa ategeezezza olukiiko nti Obwakabaka bugunjizaawo amakubo amaggya mwe bunaafunanga ensimbi busobole okukulaakulana.
Tubadde nnyo nga tuteesigamye emyezi egyo egisinze ku lusuku lwa Ssaabasajja olw'ebisatu twajja ssente ezisinga twasigala tubangibwa nkadde 46 naye nga batubanja bakyatugumiikiriza.
Mu Gano mulimu okufuna ensimbi ez'obupangisa okuva mu matendekero n'amakampuni agakolera ku ttaka n'ebizimbe by'Obwakabaka, pulojekiti eziddukanyizibwa mu Bwakabaka okuwaayo waakiri ebitundu 10 ku buli 10 ku magoba gaazo, buli muyizi asomera mu ttendekero ly'obwannannyini bw'Obwakabaka okuwangayo waakiri nusu 50 buli lusoma, so nga n'abakozi mu Bwakabaka n'ebitongole bya Buganda nabo baakuwangayo ku musaala gwabwe buli mwezi.
Ekimu ku buli 1% kinaasasulibwanga buli mwezi wakinagibwanga ku nsako ya buli mukozi wa Buganda olw'okuwagira emirimu gy'Obwakabaka.
Mu makubo amalala Buganda mwenaafunanga ensimbi mulimu okutta emikago n'amakampuni ageetaaga okutunda ebyamaguzi byago ku mikolo gya Buganda, ko n'emitemu egy'ensimbi egy'enkalakkalira okuva mu makampuni agakozesa ettutumu ly'Obwakabaka okufuna ettunzi.
Ssente zituludde nga tubanja gavumenti eya wakati zisasulibwa mu bbanga eggere ate nga teriri wala. Tulowooza banaasobola okutuwaayo obuwumbi 4 emiliyoni n'obukadde 5 wakati tubabanja obukadde 9.
Mu lukiiko lwa leero Kamalabyonna wa Buganda Charles Peter Mayiga asomye alipoota y'ensimbi z'ettoffaali ly'okuzzaawo amasiro g'e Kasubi era n'ategeeza nti akyatalaaga ebitundu by'eggwanga eby'enjawulo okulikuŋŋaanya.
Ennyingiza akawumbi kamu mu obukadde 456 mu emitwalo 27,909. Bw'ojjako ensaasaanya ya bukadde 8 mu 83 emitwalo 64,435 oziriwo obukadde 5 mu 72 mu emitwalo obukadde 5 mu 72 n'emitwalo 63,465.
Katikkiro ategeezezza nti beene akubiriza abantu be okutandika n'ebitono bye balina bakulaakulane era n'akubiriza Abaganda bayige okulunda. Bo abaami b'amasaza 11 abaalondebwa gye buvuddeko olwaleero balayidde nga mu bano mubaddemu Pokino, Kaggo, Mugerere ko n'omukyala Nantayi Immaculate Kafeero nga kati yeruweekula, omukyala asoose okulya obwami bw'owessaza mu byafaayo bya Buganda.
Nantayi Immaculate Kafeero naye amanti nja kuba muwuliza eri ow'ekitiibwa Katikkiro wa Buganda.
Ku bbalaza ya Sabbiiti ejja abakiise baakudde e Bulange mu lukiiko oluddako bateeseza Obuganda nga batandikira ku biteeso ebitawedde olwaleero. Ernest Wisdom Kiyonga, NTV akawungeezi.
NTV akawungeezi.
It's easy to believe that God is ordering your steps when they take you down a smooth, easy path. But what about when your steps take you to rough places?
Kimberly Ray was just 3 years old the first time she was raped.
Mary Johnson's only son, Loramian, was killed by 4 gunshots.
So at the very tender age of 9, sex, drugs, and alcohol.
I was thinking about getting married. And when this happened,
my wife would be killed in a car accident.
It's painful. When you allow the Holy Spirit to release you.
Once I took God to those secret places in my life that I never shared with no one human on this earth, I felt a sense of peace.
You are a spirit being, and the only way you can get fulfillment in that spirit is from God. Jesus Christ can bring happiness, He can bring peace, and give you a new beginning.
Babiri basimatuse okugajambulwa enkyaleero mu katale ka St. Bali ku Ddembe oba Owino mu Kampala wakati. Bano engalo empanvu ze zibazaalidde emitawaana. Kigambibwa nti bannakazadde bano beefudde abaguzi b'engoye ne banyaga ensawo y'omusuubuzi abadde azitunda ng'ebaddemu emitwalo 40 abakwate ye Aisha Nalwadda ne Aisha Namubiru.
Abakazi ababiri bano Aisha Nalwadda ne Aisha Namubiru watutukidde nga abatuuze b'omu katale ka Ssente bali ku ddembe bamaze okubayisaamu empi nga babalanga bubbi.
Sisakola sikati omukazi ne mugamba nina omutwalo gumu n'ekitundu ngamba kola emitwalo ebiri ne mugamba siziweza n'enteekawo sikati yambadde afuluma omukazi kwe kunkwata okibulira n'abalo baagala okufunirako badda.
Bano nannyini dduuka mwe babakwatidde nga babbye emitwalo 38 agamba nti asuuse kulaba omu ng'akwata mu nsawo ye n'asooka amussa akasiisa alabe kyakola kyokka oluvannyuma agenza okulaba nga munne amwegaseeko bakulite ne ssente ze.
Amaze okujjamu ssente ono abadde wabweru n'aŋŋamba ayagala nnungi bw'ayingidde bw'ati ono ng'ayagala muwe ensawo ndowooza agiwanike yagende awo enkwatidde ono omweru ng'afuma ne mugamba mpa ssente zange zojje mu nsawo mbaddemu emitwalo 4.
Wabula olubatuusiza ku poliisi ne batandika okwekola obusolosolo nga bwe bategeeza nti ssente zibadde zaabwe era nga bagamba nti ababakutte ate be bazibabbyeko.
Omukyala abadde agamba nti azisumulidde katambaala azisumulidde n'akatambaala ssente zona zibadde mu katambaala nga zitadde namu.
Amaziga gabayiseemu nga bwe balama kamera zaffe era nga bwe balumiriza nga bwe batali babbi. Bano kati bakumirwa ku poliisi ya Ssente bali ku ddembe. Poliisi era egamba nti bano balina okugulwako omusango gw'obubbi.
Naye nga nannyini dduuka eriiso lye liri ki? Liri kuya alabe kikyagenda okukola kubanga muno obubbi abakyala basinze okubba ennaku zino okubba obugoye n'ensawo z'abantu. Kati Namubiru bw'ayingidde n'akwata akasawo kaki kono kati omulala naye n'ayingira ajabuzaabuza ono nti ayagala kupiikinga ngoye. Kati bwapiikinze engoye n'asanga ziri mu grade bw'alabye nti zino ez'N3,300 ziri biro kuzaabagala naye ng'obukodu bwawe kwagala ku confusing oli omukyala agambe nti tewali taabo. Kati
Dini Lobo Sava, NTV akawungezi.
Webale nnyo Dini Lobo Sava. Poliisi erabudde bannayuganda okunyweza ebyokwerinda kubanga abatujju beesomye. Kino kiddiridde amawulire agafuniddwa nti abakambwe bwe baagala okulumba Uganda nate. Omuduumizi wa poliisi atwala ekitundu kya Kampala East Haji Siraj Bakaleke olwaleero alambudde ebifo eby'enjawulo mu Kampala era abakuumi abasangiddwa nga bali ku byabwe abalabudde.
So kyova abantu kutambulamu nga abasirikale bange aba poliisi n'abana abalala mbabawoningi babeere alert babeere vigilant babeere bali basaale ennyo mu kwerinda beteeketeeke kubanga anything may happen. Naye public kyensookera ddala nina okubeebaza nti babadde basaale ennyo okusupportinga okutuwa information ate n'okubeera conscious balina okukyekinga. So tuyambagane tubeere nti tukwatiramu be ready, be active for anything. They are going to come and take your gun and shoot you when you are taking water. I'm happy tustukiremu fera tukwatire wamu tubeere tulwanyisa abatujju bano tebagenda kutusobola nga tuli wamu.
Ye Haji Siraj Bakaleke aduumira obuvanjuba bwa Kampala. Mu mawulire amalala Faaza mu bitundu by'Emityana afiiriddewo oluvannyuma lwa lukululana okutomeragana n'emmotoka ya buyonjo mwabadde atambulira. Akabenje kano kabaddewo ku ssaawa 12 ez'okumakya ku luguudo oluva Emityana okudda e Kampala mu katawuni akamanyiddwa nga Muduuma. Era mu disitulikiti y'emu Katemba abadde mu lukiiko lwa kanso ya disitulikiti eno omwami w'omuluka gw'ettamu bw'avudde mu mbeera n'alagira bakkansala okuteesa mu Luganda nabo bawulire bye babadde boogera.
Afudde yabadde Father Lawrence Kasule nga yabadde bwana mukulu ow'ekigo ky'e Muduuma. Akabenje kano kugwawo kiddiridde emmotoka Father mwabadde okuwaba n'erumba lukululana olwo ne zambalagana. Poliisi y'ebidduka okuva Empigi etuuseewo n'ejjawo emmotoka zombi n'ezitwala. Omulambo gw'omugenzi gutwaliddwa mu ddwaliro ekkulu ery'e Mulago okwekebejjebwa. Akulira poliisi y'ebidduka mu bitundu by'e Katonga ategeezezza nti bakyanoonya omugoba wa lukululana gye yaddukidde wabula n'alabula abagoba b'ebidduka okwegendereza ennyo nga bali ku luguudo.
Mwegenze mumanye obudde ki bwe muvugiramu emmotoka. Nga obulamu bw'abantu tubukuuma. Ate tuyambe abo abalibeera bafunye obuzibu tetubaleka.
Ate Jamada Musisi eyeeyise musomo gwalema era mu disitulikiti ey'Emityana agamba nti bakansala babadde basusse okwogera Olungereza era naye kwe kusalawo yeefeeko asobola okumanya ebyabadde biteesebwa.
Baba bayita abantu tebagamba nti waddiguli oba dipulooma yabajja mu lukiiko muno. Abatuuze bonna babayita bajje naye empapula ze bakuba za luzungu lwokka tebateekamu lwa Luganda kati ne batukwasa empapula ezo kati bali ba minisita baabwe abasoma oluzungu ye bwalukwatako nga tobitegedde nadda mu kyalo n'abitafuta kifuula nnenge.
Bakansala basoose kugaana wabula oluvannyuma baawaliriza okukyusa olulimi ne badda mu Luganda yadde nga abamu kyabanyizizza.
Bagenzeeko mu maaso mu by'okunoonyereza ku mmere ekubira omusana ekubira endwadde n'ebiringa bwe bityo.
Olukiiko lwabadde luyitiddwa abakungu ba disitulikiti okuteesa ku mbalirira nga tebannaba kugiisa era nga buli muntu yabadde wa ddembe okulwetabamu. Ate ye Mubende poliisi y'Emyanzi eriko ababbi beesuuzizza ente z'omutuuze ezabadde zibbiddwa. Kino kiddiridde abazigu okulumba ekyalo ky'Eggambwa mu kiro ne banyaga ente z'abatuuze eziwerera ddala ekyaviiriddeko abatuuze okutandika okuziyiga.
Omufuzi w'omu Kampala Boni Katatumba kyaddaaki yeddiza ekizimbe mu Kampala kyamaze emyaka 5 ng'akayanira n'omuyindi Mukesh Shukra amanyiddwa nga Shumuk. Bawannyondo ba kkooti nga bayambibwako poliisi be bakedde mu kifo kino okusengula omuyindi nga bakolera ku biragiro bya kkooti.
So leero kye tukola tumu evictinga mu properties zaffe olaba eviction eri peaceful and and calm and Uganda police bakoze omulimu mulungi nnyo oku enforcing orders.
Waliwo order ey'okujamu abadde batwala ekizimbe kino then bateekemu abapya era exercise egenze bulungi tetufunye buzibu bwonna era tulinda bamalirize tudde ku mirimu gyaffe emirala.
So tusanyuse nnyo.
Mu mizannyo olwaleero ttiimu za Uganda ebbiri ezibadde mu lutabaalo mu DR Congo ne Sudan okuli Victoria University Sports Club ne KCCFC zombi zikomyewo ku butaka zitandika okwetegekera emipiira egittako ku Lwomukaaga ne Sande eno mu kisaawe e Namboole. Victoria University yawanguddwa ggoolo 3 ku bwereere e Lumumbashi mu DR Congo ate ginnayo KCCFC newangulira ku bugenyi e Sudan ggoolo 2 ku bwereere. Omusasi waffe ayogeddeko n'abakungu ba ttiimu zombi katulabe bye bagamba.
Omuyizi akumba n'akunyumiza ne ttiimu za Uganda ebbiri ezabadde ku bugenyi mu mpaka za Africa ku nkomerero ya sabbiiti ewedde buli omu olutabaala alunyumya lulwe. Aba Victoria University abazanyidde mu kabuga ka Lubumbashi e Congo bawanguliddwayo bannyinimu aba Don Bosco ggoolo 3 ku bwereere. Wabula obuwanguzi bwa Don Bosco omwogezi wa Victoria University Leon Senyange agamba nti bwavudde ku nsobi z'abazannyi be wamu ne baddifiri.
Abantu abasinga bayinza okugamba nti ggoolo 3 ziba nnyingi nnyo naye nga okutwaliza awamu Liverpool yateeba ggoolo 3 mu dakiika 6 kye kinaganda Victoria okuteeba ggoolo 3 mu dakiika 9. Nsuubira nti nno tugenda kuddayo okyalo tutandika okutendekebwa tutunuulire ensobi ze twakola abatendesi basobole okuba nga bazirongoosaamu tuddemu buto nga tumanyi nti nno twetaaga ggoolo 3 oba 4 okuyitawo era nga kyekigendererwa kituliko ku Sande.
Bo aba KCCFC abakyaziddwa El Merike ya Sudaani bavuddeyo n'akamwenyumwenyu oluvannyuma lw'okufutiza baakabakyaza ggoolo 2 ku bwereere. Omutendesi George Nsimba agamba nti wadde nga basobodde okuwangula omupiira guno tegwabadde mwangu.
Twasambye abantu badde abasambi 11 aba Merike ne rifali ne balayinzima ne babiri be bantu 14 be twasambye era ng'enkola bulijjo bwebeera kubanga Merike singa buli kimu erina ssente zewa barifali naye twasobodde okuba nga kyasobola okukola kuwininga bawagizi ba America ne tuba shutting down then oneteba goal zaffe nga ne referee talina kyayinza kukola nageza kubanonyiza goal in fact yabadde ne penalty Jamalu n'agikwata.
KCC bakuddingana ne Eri Merrick ku lw'omukaaga luno mu kisaawe Nambole ate enkeera ku Sunday Victoria University baddingane ne Don Bosco eya Congo mu kisaawe kye kimu. Sam Mpoza.
Today's highlight.
No, leave him here. What are you looking at? It's all her fault. I'll make you pay for this. I swear on my son's name that you'll feel what I'm feeling. You're going to suffer.
Today's highlight.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here. What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week? I say they're shopping. Me, I'd be looking to sell. At what price? More. Much more. I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
The eventualities of a very bad day largely depend on what you listen to or watch in the morning. Well, here at Morning at NTV, we have a power-packed show. Not just from the press review, but to the big story. And of course, something that you have been thinking about, especially when it comes to climbing that ladder, the corporate ladder. And of course, later, Isma will be joining us with a tidbit about sports in this country and on the international scene. Coming to you live from the Kampala Serena Hotel, this is where you need to kickstart your day. My name is Brian. Standing by at the International Conference Center at the NTV studios is Mabel Kebirungi. Joel Senyonyi is also on standby with Simon Kasiate, who will be coming in a couple of minutes to join me for the press review. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, boys and girls, strap your seatbelts. Morning at NTV starts with the question of the day. Good morning. There you go. Now, today's question of the day is, who composed the Uganda National Anthem? The first 5 respondents will each walk away with a mag from Morning at NTV. And you can see I'm just sipping on this fine coffee at the International Conference Center and also at the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop. And please get texting 6565, get tweeting Morning at NTV. Feel free to tag me at MBGold2, at Mebkeb, at Joel Senyonyi, at Kasiate. And of course, you can go to our Facebook page, like our page first, then you can give your answer to that question. You can also stream live on YouTube, youtube.com/NTVUganda. And very soon, in a couple of weeks, we'll be developing something for you. Some of you have been saying, we can't watch NTV. We'll be getting that app for your phone, and you can watch NTV live right on your phone. Well, standing by, let's join Mabel at the International Conference Center at the NTV studios with the stories that are making headlines. Good morning.
Morning, Bran, and thank you very much. Welcome to Morning at NTV this Tuesday. It's about 3 minutes after 7 o'clock this morning. And today in the headlines, we'll be looking at the UPDF South Sudan expedition. We'll also be looking at the Kenya pro-gay activist protests and the MP's reaction to Museveni's Chankwanzi endorsement.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Uganda and the South Sudan say the UPDF will remain deployed in South Sudan despite a statement from the United States calling for the withdrawal of foreign forces from the troubled nation. The two nations are urging the U.S. to respect their sovereignty.
Over the weekend, the U.S. government issued a statement calling for the redeployment or phased withdrawal of foreign forces invited by either side of the warring factions, warning that failure to do so could result in regionalization of the conflict. Although the statement was not clear on the exact forces, the warning seems to be focused on Uganda, which is the only foreign country whose forces are in the continent's youngest country. In December last year, Uganda deployed troops in South Sudan.
We were invited by the government because the government in South Sudan is not illegal, as far as we're concerned, unless if it's declared so. It's not illegal; it's a legal entity, and the illegal entity of a government has a right to invite whoever they want. They did invite us.
The South Sudan ambassador to Uganda, Samuel Lord, has been blunt on his response to the demands of the U.S. government. He says South Sudan is an independent state which must be respected.
And it's a country that it decides the matters of who is in South Sudan and who is to remain and who is to get out. It is not the position of any international community to decide over matters that has to be dealt with by the Republic of South Sudan.
The statement from the U.S. government expressed concern over reports of violation by both the government of South Sudan and anti-government forces of the cessation of hostilities agreement that was signed in Addis Ababa on January 23rd.
As soon as that IGAD mechanism comes into place, then UPDF would either withdraw in whole or in part and then become part of the IGAD effort.
Analysts have taken sides with the U.S. government. They say Uganda's involvement in South Sudan affairs will only complicate the situation.
Because if some other countries may also say, okay, let us also go in. So it may internationalize the problem in Southern Sudan.
People in Addis Ababa by the AU were very clear to us. Thank you. Had you not moved in, we would be having chaos.
Uganda has also been fronting the issue of trade relations with South Sudan as one of the reasons for its involvement.
If you have been following the money markets, the Uganda shilling has been falling very much.
People in Southern Sudan are my people selling tomatoes, selling potatoes, selling passionate fruit. Actually, the people in Mbala are running the market in Southern Sudan. They are selling, doing this pet business and borders. When you look at big businesses, Uganda is not doing big business in Sudan.
Meanwhile, the second round of peace talks between South Sudan's warring factions that had been planned to resume today in Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, have been postponed to tomorrow afternoon. The first round of talks last month resulted in the South Sudan government side and rebels led by former Vice President Riek Machar signing a ceasefire agreement, but fighting has continued in the vast and impoverished country.
And remaining in the East African region, Kenya pro-gay activists and their supporters staged a rare protest outside the Uganda High Commission in the capital, Nairobi. The activists were protesting the move by Ugandan legislators to pass into law the anti-homosexuality bill.
Dropping the rainbow colors commonly associated with gays and lesbians, the protesters staged peaceful demonstrations outside the Ugandan High Commission offices in Nairobi. Their attempts to get audience with the commissioner to hand her a letter petitioning against Uganda's anti-homosexuality bill were futile. Speaking to the press outside the commissioner's office, the pro-gay group termed the bill as draconian, stating that the effects of the bill were already being felt at entry points to Uganda, as most gays and lesbians were being denied entry into the country.
We are here as gays and lesbians of the Kenyan community to express solidarity with the gays and lesbians and the trans community of Uganda over the recently passed anti-homosexuality bill by the Ugandan Parliament. We understand that the bill has been presented before President Museveni for consideration and that he has 30 days to either accede to it or reject it. If he does not respond to Parliament within 30 days, Parliament can pass the bill nonetheless with a 2/3 majority and make it law. This bill has major repercussions to human rights conditions across the East African community, and actually most of us are here because we are members of the EAC, and we are concerned about the fundamental freedoms such as association, equality and privacy that are going to be affected once this bill comes into law. Already the effects of the bill can be felt. Gays and lesbians are crossing the border.
The Uganda anti-homosexuality bill, commonly referred to as Kill the Gays bill, due to its originally proposed death penalty that was proposed in favor of life imprisonment, awaits presidential assent this week to become law. However, President Yoweri Museveni had last month said he would only sign the bill into law if a committee of scientists he set up proved that gays are mad and not born, as widely believed. But the group differs. Protesters cautioned Ugandan government officials not to advocate for the anti-homosexuals bill as members of their own families could be homosexual. The petition seeks to lobby President Museveni not to sign the bill on grounds that it contravenes Uganda's law on privacy. They further sought to remind the head of state not to betray the history of Uganda, as gays and lesbians have lived in the country since time immemorial.
Stop killing us! Stop killing us! Stop killing us! Stop killing us!
Last month, the Speaker of Parliament received a tongue lash from the President for what he called passing the bill without quorum, but insisted that gays are abnormal people who can be rescued through economic empowerment. The bill, first introduced in 2009 by Honorable David Bahati, sparked international outrage for what activists termed as punitive measures and intrusion of human rights. The bill is expected to return to Parliament for further discussions, and if the President declines it twice, it will, according to the Ugandan Constitution, automatically become law. Shiland Wuchire, NTV, Nairobi.
President Yoweri Museveni's recent endorsement as the NRM party flag bearer for the 2016 presidential elections has drawn mixed reactions from legislators across the political divide. Maurice Ochol reports.
President Yoweri Museveni has once again been endorsed as the NRM's party's flag bearer for the 2016 general elections by the NRM caucus. This time, the party members Evelyn Aniteka Jik, Northern Youth MP, seconded by Machinde East legislator John Simbwa, want him to stand unopposed. This suggestion has come under heavy criticism. Members of the opposition feel that such ideas are the reason democracy fades by the day.
Our point of view from the opposition is that we will compete with anybody who presents himself as a candidate or herself as a candidate.
There are so many people with high potential, including the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga. Even the Right Honorable Prime Minister Mambos can run for presidency.
President Museveni, and I believe is the one who has orchestrated that demand.
Entirely laughable and cynical.
Some legislators would rather the president retires than offer himself for a fifth term.
By 2017, Museveni would be above 75 years. So I don't know what they are going to do. The whole essence of chasing progressive members from the caucus and from parliament, that is Honorable Barnabas Tinka Simire, because it's remembered that is the one who asked him when he's retiring, throwing out Honorable Wilfred Nwagaba, Honorable Nsereko and Honorable Sechiku, was aimed at having that smooth sail. Never would we have allowed such resolution to be passed without challenge.
Reach them one by one. If they are sure that you are not going to reveal their names, I believe you can get about 70% of those who are there who don't agree with that decision.
Minister without portfolio Richard Todong says that unlike the opposition that he calls individualistic, the president has done much in terms of development.
And indeed is going to continue, and within NRM no one is going to dare to compete against him, because we want him overwhelmingly, we support him, and we want him to continue holding the party together, holding the national vision and building unity in Uganda. Those are the reasons we want the president to continue.
Away from the legislators, NTV caught up with some of the ordinary Ugandans.
But I think there's still the delegates conference which will decide who is going to be the flag bearer.
watya senga NEC evaayo negamba nti bo tebasemba kiteeso ekyo.
It may be a bitter pill to swallow, allowing for President Yoweri Museveni to stand as the only NRM flag bearer, as some had hopes of seeing Prime Minister Mama Mbabazi, the Speaker of Parliament, and the former Vice President Gilbert Bukenya pitted against him.
The NRM caucus could have decided that President Yoweri Museveni is the main person to stand in the 2016 general elections. However, the National Executive Council, NEC, is the one now remaining to decide on this matter. Maurice Ochol, NTV.
You're still watching Morning at NTV. We now return to the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop to Brian, Simon and Joel for the press review.
A very good morning to you. Once again, coming to you from the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel on this Tuesday morning, the 11th day of February 2014. My name is Simon Kasiati with my usual suspects, Joel Senyonyi and Brian Mulondo. This time round looking at the happenings in the Daily Monitor. No red pepper yet. Brian, what happened to your daily supply of the red pepper?
I think there was an accident in Namang, so... Over your wife warned you. You look at those pictures there. We're trying to work on the constant supply. Yeah.
How members of parliament hatched Museveni 2016 bid. That's the headline story in the Daily Monitor this morning. Let it be recalled that at a recent NRM caucus retreat at the National Leadership Institute in Chankwanzi, members of parliament in the NRM ruling party endorsed President Yoweri Museveni to stand as yet their flag bearer for 2016 as an opposed candidate. And the Daily Monitor here is breaking it down for you. How did this plan get hatched, incubated before that, and then delivered to us in 2014, 2 years ahead of the next election? Joel.
I actually see people like Professor Bukenya crying foul, thinking, wait a minute, this thing here was done surreptitiously. But due to the fact these guys are making a statement.
Oh, wait a minute, Joel. Yes, just yesterday you talked about Professor Bukenya. What are you trying to insinuate? That he is actually a very serious force to reckon with in the NRM? People actually think that he's just there for the nuisance factor.
He looks like he wants this, yeah, and he's kept on saying that, look, I'm going to stand
Joel,
for the
so NRM. do I. I also want to be the president of Uganda. But to what extent can I be taken seriously?
First way.
So let's look at Bukenya perhaps in that kind of light. Everybody in the NRM is looking at the big position. But is he the most ferocious of opponents within the NRM?
That's arguable. That's arguable. But thing is, he has put himself out and saying, I want to stand for this. Yeah, between you and I, we can debate. And is he good enough? Does he have cogent reasons for standing for that? But he's saying, I want to stand for this. And he says, if actually this election turns out to be not free and fair, I'm going to stand as an independent. Now, as sure as that follows now, we are going to see this gentleman standing as an independent because he is going to lose.
Reading into this story, the Bukenya factor did not even come up a little bit. Bukenya is not even
It's actually the Mbabazi factor.
It's actually the Mbabazi factor.
And I find it as a very, well, for lack of better word, Charlie's excuse that the MPs put up saying they wanted to silence Amama's supporters, so they came up with this plan to forward the president's name unopposed.
Let it be recalled that Mama Mbabazi was cheered on very definitely.
Certainly. And they're saying, wait a minute, if this trend continues, fear looms here. We need to silence these people. So it is just a statement that they are making, but we are waiting to see what pans out really. There's the likes of General Viraro and that. Everybody wants to be president of Uganda. Even Simon Kasiati.
There is a very sad story on the front pages of the Daily Monitor about a family in agony where they lost a daughter. This is the family of one Emily Akire, a Makerere University Business School student who was killed over the weekend, and the killers have been over the days threatening the family and at some point asking for a ransom. Now this is a very, very sad state of affairs, especially with regard to the security of our children and your own security.
But also it brings in the question of, poverty. I think it's, when I read the story, they were demanding for a ransom of 2 million shillings.
No, but you see,
and the family couldn't raise that.
You see, poverty on what side? The guys who are demanding, or the family that failed to raise?
The family that failed to raise.
Yeah, but anyway, there's nothing that can really condone crime. But honestly speaking, when you take a young life like this one and then make matters worse by demanding a ransom from a family that's trying to get to grips with the death of somebody who possibly was being looked at as the breadwinner in the years to come. And clearly that is
and it's happening a lot to university students. I don't know that some of them are gullible, some of course are enticed with we will give you this, we'll take you to this place, and they end up being trapped. They probably need to be a little careful, but we do commiserate with the family.
While we pray for her soul to rest in peace, we ask all of you to be a bit more vigilant with your security, especially you, otherwise gullible university students. Of course, they are watching us from your university rooms. Into the inner pages of the Daily Monitor, another grave story playing out with regard to now a declared epidemic in this country, which is cancer. And we are told that 3 patients are dying on a daily as cancer drugs run out. We have a government that is now mooting to have the next president come 2016, but unable to provide the basic facilities in hospitals like life-saving drugs, especially for cancer patients. What does that tell you of the state of affairs? Do you think a 5th term for President Museveni is going to avert this dire situation in the health sector?
I don't know about that. Once bitten, twice shy. But look, we need to do a great deal of overhauling our health system. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. People are dying of what I would call basic ailments. That should not be the case, yeah? Our priorities are the other way around, which is wrong. Now, you talk about whether President Museveni's 5th term will, hope to remedy the situation. I don't know about that. I was looking at, people commenting here, and one person was saying, you see, we don't want Museveni to come back because we want change. And that is good, but change for the sake of change, we've had that. Yeah, so we want to see change. We want to see good, cogent change in place.
Talking about change, the opposition in Uganda has placed a list of 10 electoral reforms. And of course, later on this program, when we delve into the bigger story, we'll be looking at one of those leaders of the many opposition groups in this country. Tell us what are some of these 10 demands to ensure that the 2016 election is free and fair. But you can get a peep of that when you get yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor this morning.
I want to say something small about that. The opposition has always come together during times like this, and they are like crisis times. And then when they agree, one of them thinks to decide they can make it on their own, and they get out of the coalition.
Absolutely, and Brian raises a very important issue. You spend more time agitating in the capitals and halls of Makerere University and other public places, as opposed to getting down to the grassroots and do what others do in terms of canvassing for votes. Then at the end of the day, you come whinging and whining, the election was rigged, the election was rigged.
And that's the challenge.
And the question is, where were you?
Where were they? Are probably taking tea like here. But the opposition needs to get a lot more orderly, yeah? If you're to outwit a system like the one in place, it is quite organized. Yes, it has its, lacunas here and there. But you need to be very organized if you're to do this. And the way it seems now, they're not that organized yet.
Let me get a bit tribal this morning, and based from the story in the Daily Monitor this morning. Mulondo,
yes.
Senyonyi, you love your king, don't you? You love your cultural institution.
I do, certainly.
Absolutely.
Perhaps not as much as I love Uganda.
But perhaps you also love it. Would you take a step
I didn't apply to belong to it.
If you worked for one of the institutions owned by this cultural institution, would you accept to be taxed by that cultural institution?
I see where you're headed to. I did see that. If there's a good cause, why not? Yeah. Much of the time, taxes, we do not give them voluntarily. If there is a need, we've got to give them. I see a lady here that looks like Agnes Landutu.
Well, before what did I see that story? If you work for the Central Broadcasting Corporation, if you're working for K2 Telecom, if you're working for the Buganda Land Board and all the other corporate institutions owned by the Buganda government, you're waking up to news this morning from the Daily Monitor that yes, your wonderful kingdom is going to be taxing you. So that's an extra tax to the already payers. You earn tax, the other tax, and the other tax. Now you have
But I think
tax.
that's good, because all that money will still come back to the kingdom. They
Absolutely.
serve the kingdom, so why not pay it?
You love your kingdom, pay its taxes.
Yes.
If NTV chose to tax you beginning today, you would have two options. Either you stay, pay the tax, or go elsewhere.
Yeah. The op-ed section of the Daily Monitor this morning, a very interesting arrangement of opinions coming in from the usual columnists. One of them is Nicholas Sengoba, who says Muntu's Mafabi move is a mistake of monumental magnitude. And the kicker from there reads that so for Muntu to claim that he's strengthening the party by removing Mafabi from the coveted leader of opposition position is a grave mistake. It may be used to vindicate those who allege that he came in as a spoiler. You don't agree to this?
You see, leadership is a challenge, yeah? When you take a decision, there will be those on your side, there will be those that will take jibes at you. When you do not take a certain decision, the same story happens. And really, it goes to show for the way human beings are, yeah? You greet them, they say you're showing yourself to them. You don't greet them, they say you're feeling good.
So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
There you go. So you've got to decide at the end of the day. You've got to take a decision. And for me, in my opinion, I think we needed to see some kind of change there so that the waters can be calmed down a little bit. But it's got to reach out, extend an olive branch to the Mafabi camp so that they don't extricate themselves from this.
Well, for you, Nandra Mafabi, who could have taken some heartwarming feeling from this article by Nicholas Sengoba, you may need to read further down the page from Chris Pikayeru, who says the false grandeur that comes with the term big man must stop.
Somebody once told me that a big man is one who makes you feel when in his, who makes you feel big when in his presence. You met people like that. They are big, they are powerful, but you know when you're with them, they give you attention, and you really feel big in their presence.
Right.
But there are these guys who all of a sudden get some slight position all over here and there, and they all of a sudden feel like they are on top of the world.
Well, in the absence of the red paper this morning, I will have to borrow. I have got to lend a part of my paper to Brian Mulondo to tell us what's in the next magazine of the Daily Monitor this morning.
Well, actually, I know this lady, and next, Sandra Subi.
Actually, I thought very good about singing, and she's an artist.
She when I saw her picture on the front page, I was like, whoa, she's going to talk about her music. But she has been able to turn plastic trash into creative art. And she's getting mineral water bottles and designing them and making these beautiful decorations. And one of the pictures that are in the papers is when she was singing at the Bayimba Festival, and the backdrop was her work.
Oh, tremendous.
Fantastic.
So for those of you who drink off mineral water bottles and spew them off the road, please kindly know that not only will they be picked by the wrong people, but you need to preserve them so they can be used for the right reason.
I have a friend who once
trash could mean cash.
Who was going to?
Kick someone who just threw a bottle.
Yeah,
so
sometimes
pick
it gets
and take it.
very irritating. But you see, when I see people like Subi, I'm thinking this is a good attitude towards work, something we need to inculcate among Ugandans. There's people that just have a very lousy attitude towards work. You find somebody at the reception, and they're looking at you like you're not needed at that place. Like your presence is good, but your absence is better. Yesterday I went to have a haircut. I went to salon. For some reason I didn't go to my usual barber. I go to this guy. The place looks fairly nice. I thought I'll get a good service. But the way this guy was handling me, it's like he was doing me a favor. And I'm thinking, dude, I am paying you. Stop giving me this stinking attitude. We need to change that.
Well, the issue of customer service across the board in Uganda remains one to grapple with and leaves a lot to be desired. You find a lot of people who come begging for jobs practically, and when they get them, they start treating the jobs like indeed they are doing the job a favor.
They're signing up. I can work anytime, do anything, and you know, when the rubber meets the road.
In the meantime, despite that laziness and bad workmanship, government is seeking some 400 billion for microfinance. Now the question is, what are these microfinance organizations and to what extent have they uplifted the lives of Ugandans, Joel?
And that's the challenge. I think they need to be a lot more organized. If we are talking about want to reach out to Ugandans, give them let's not give people a handout. Let's give people a hand up. And until that happens, we will keep giving money to these young people. They'll go bet it out. And that will be the story of the day.
No, but what more do these young people want from the government? The government educates them. I hear now you don't pay school fees for your primary school, secondary school, and to some extent tertiary education. You're out of the university or whatever tertiary education you've attained, and then government is giving you some kind of kick in the right place for you to go and start up a business. What more do you want government to give these people?
You see, I'm not saying it is bad to give money to people, but giving money to people who are disorganized, who do not exactly
I thought they learn organization in school. So our schools no longer provide organization.
These mango tree primary schools, they are also open roof like ours, just that ours is state of the art, you know, and that kind of thing. But it's a tricky situation down there. We need not give these mad kids just money. Go and start a business, they don't know what. Then Brian will take his girlfriend, his wife in this case. And then before you know it, the money is done.
But you are still against when Charles Ochichi was training people at Enterprise Uganda on how to
I think that's good. I think we need to do a lot more of that. But you see, you don't do that as a one-off 2 days training and you think it has sunk. Certainly not.
Well, there is a special report this morning in the Daily Monitor on oil and gas, which poses the headline as financing questions lie ahead after the Memorandum of Understanding. Now, you will recall that the three major oil prospecting, or should I say prospecting or drilling companies in this country, that's Talo, Total ENP, and Sinok signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the government of Uganda, so to speak, kick-starting their full operations with regard to the oil sector in this country. Now, the question is, where is the financing coming from? Going down to the Prosper magazine of the Daily Monitor, we have an interesting story of a man who otherwise people will consider to be up to some nuisance value, but he's actually reaping lots of money from it. Brian, who is this guy? Let's not keep people guessing.
Sam Okello, a very good friend of mine, and say he has found his entrepreneurial skills through performing arts on the local international scene. This guy has performed on stages, not just in Uganda, but in France, in the US, in the UK. and a very nice picture of him drumming here. And he was once with Andere Center, started his own thing. I think it's called Mizizi Performing Arts, and he's doing a fantastic job.
So Joel, it's actually true that if a young child started up by being quite a comic guy in class, doesn't take maybe studies seriously, but he's always the guy that makes people laugh. Whenever there's a music concert, he's always at the forefront. He's actually perhaps better suited to make ends meet as opposed to these guys that we are seeing lately flashing the forefinger side. I got
that's what our education system needs to be like. Look, I think it's key that people get to do what they love and love what they do. That's a winning formula. I cannot sing, for example. The few times I've tried to sing at places, they tell me, boy, I have a moving voice. When I sing, people move out. So that is why I don't sing often. But there's other things that I can do, so I'll try and concentrate on that.
Right. Well, talking of the education system this morning, the usual daily monitor pull out for children. Rainbow is in there, and of course it's celebrating some of those PLE stars. If you're one of those who sat PLE and are watching us from the comforts of your home, kindly tell daddy or mommy to get yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor. For there you'll find a Rainbow magazine where you get to read interesting stories like the adventures of Banjo, and of course checking out who some of your friends have their birthdays celebrated today. Do we have anything in sports this morning?
Forgot. You remember this man celebrated his birthday last week, and then for some reason the rest of us had gone. I wanted to sing for you. I can do a belated one.
You can.
Happy birthday.
Well, you said your voice moves people, so we would really want to keep.
Your mama so pretty. What happened to you?
Coming in from that jovial mood, we're getting down to the sports section of the Daily Monitor. If you're a sports enthusiast, there is quite a lot of tremendous stories from the local and international sports scene, but largely concentrating on the issue of soccer. But there is one interesting story coming in from the game of golf, which is profiling a gentleman by the names of Basariza, who says Basariza basks in glory at seniors show. Are you one of those who's participating in the seniors golf tournament? There is an 89-year-old who's out to give you a run for your swings.
One of the things I want to do this year is learn how to play golf.
It's not about sure it's ceasing to be a game of the rich like we had always connoted it to be.
Yes.
And anyone can play golf.
Simply because now Brian has expressed interest in playing golf.
I want to understand how, and you know, for me, I played baseball. And when you're playing baseball, people are cheering you on.
Wait a minute, you played baseball.
Yes.
That's one I don't believe that, because I don't know why they play baseball in this country.
Let's
But when
give
you
the man the benefit of the doubt.
people
It's
are
a
cheering
national
you
TV,
on,
don't ashamed
I have not heard of anyone saying I'm going to watch a game of baseball. Or I may be that ignorant. Well, with that, before we get down to what else Brian Molondo plays, let's take a short break. When we return, we'll be back with a big story. And yes, I told you earlier on, the big story is about the political goings on. What is the opposition mooting, cooking, and when will they be serving it? We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Whose decision it is to wear a condom? It has to have a good foundation for where it's coming from.
When you see a back show and there is no bra, you have to control your mind. That's how a man was created.
Men and women are different. We go into relationships for many reasons.
Me, if you're a chick, I don't want to get pregnant, this is locking it down.
Someone could be in a relationship not because they love you, but because it's convenient.
Are you saying that when a woman tells her friends, oh, my man is so good, he provides for me, he provides for the family, he's great in bed, this is going to make my friend go to my man?
When the marriage is actually a marriage of convenience.
It is not necessarily true that when you put together with someone, when someone is forced on you, love will grow.
If you've fallen in love with somebody and it's working for you, marry them.
Men, every Wednesday at only on NTV.
I can smell that liquor on your breath.
Because I've been drinking.
average age of the entire national team is under 18.
The primary role of Team Uganda is to remain to Division 2.
Probably that's the only thing that can make one or two rugby fans smile, that the Cubs are doing well.
The players haven't put on they haven't wore the game faces. They're not the animals we saw last season, because Ferguson had the same group of players and he did deliver the Holy Grail, which is the title.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
And we return now to the Serena rooftop. But remember, you can be part of the show. Do send us your feedback. Andrew Chiemba sent in a message say, I don't know if he's at the Serena rooftop, but Fatuma Mugenyi says she is loving the show. And Prince Ntare Ahmed says he wants to share with Brand's cup of tea. It looks very nice. Well, we return back to Simon and the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop.
Thank you very much, Mabel. Now coming to you once again from the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. It's the big story with me, Simon Kasiate. The opposition political parties, presidents, civil society organizations and some members of the clergy met yesterday to launch a campaign calling for free and fair elections in the 2016 general election and reforms in the current electoral commission they claim is not independent. Now let's not mince our words. The meeting also opened a debate on whether the opposition is willing to unite and root the 2016 general election. I'm sure we've had this before. Before 2011, we had a call for unity. What happened down the road? Will the same happen this time round, or have they matured and gone beyond their petty differences to launch a united front against what is termed as the hegemony of President Yoweri Museveni? Now, the campaign that brought together the opposition party bigwigs and members of the civil society saw the attendance of UPC's party president, Ambassador Olara Otunu, Forum for Democratic Change, Major General Mugisha Muntu, CP's president, John Ken Luchamuzi, Justice Forum's Asuman Basarirwa, DP's Norbert Mao, and the rest as the list goes on. Now, we're privileged this morning to have one of these party presidents joining us for the big story to answer to our questions. Remember, this meeting of yesterday put across 10 demands, not 1, not 2, not 16, but 10 demands, with a demand from government to ensure that the 2016 election is free and fair. And some of these demands include, and are not limited to, 1, a new fully independent electoral commission, a new voters register, removal of security and militia forces involved, no diversion of public funds, demarcation of electoral boundaries, freedom to organize and assemble, establish a new criteria of selecting presiding officers, ensuring integrity of the tally process, and finally, to establish a new process of adjudicating presidential election disputes on whether political parties could finally unite. Now, Ambassador Olara Otunu, good morning and welcome to the big story.
Good morning. I'm pleased to be here. Congratulations on this freshly minted show.
I love the kind and very heartwarming remarks coming in from you.
And also it's a very well appointed locale, by the way.
Absolutely.
We could do with this for our morning review meetings.
Absolutely.
So, congratulations.
That's what makes NTV NTV. Now, Ambassador Olara Otunu, you've put across 2 years to the next election, 10 demands that you want from this government. But remember, we are coming from a situation where the last election was more than 2 years ago. What have you been doing after the last election for you to come now in the middle of the term to make these demands?
It's a very important development, a very important step that we took yesterday. It's a completely non-partisan initiative, and it brings together 3 major sectors of our society. Political parties, particularly opposition political parties, civil society organizations, and a select number of national leaders. These are the 3 sectors which have come together to put forward to the nation this basket of demands. We are saying nobody is more interested in elections than the people of Uganda, much more than those who are caucusing today in Chankwanzi. But the people of Uganda want elections which are meaningful, which are genuine, which are truly free and fair. And we have said to the people of Uganda, this is what free and fair elections look like. So the 10 demands, the basket of demands, identifies the key issues that needs to be addressed in order for us to have genuinely free and fair elections.
Ambassador Laro Tunu, these 10 demands you're making are not a first. We've seen these demands being made before by yourselves, number one, but also by other interested groups in Uganda's political dispensation. I recall very vividly after the 2011 election, the Electoral Observation Mission from the European Union issued a report that contained findings and recommendations. And many of the recommendations are exactly in tandem with these 10 demands that you're making. And this has been 2.5 years down the road. The government has possibly not listened. Do you think this time around it's going to listen to you?
Well, in 2010, before the 2011 elections, we had come together, a group of opposition political parties, under an umbrella we call the Inter-Party Cooperation, IPC.
Very good.
We made a common stand on similar issues. And there was strong support within the country as well as internationally.
Very good.
There was a tragic error, a last-minute U-turn. We did not stand firm on the position we had taken. It was a tragic error. Let me just finish. It was a tragic error for which the parties and the country have paid a very high price. My hope, our determination, is that on this occasion we shall stand firm on our demands and not budge, not relent, and have no U-turn.
Apart from your faith and overt optimism, what else can you hold on to give you that hope that indeed you will not make a U-turn like you did before?
I can say this. I have been involved in this process 2010, 2011. After the elections, we had a process, and the one which has led to this. I can tell you this. But I've been very impressed.
Ambassador
I'm answering your question.
Yeah, before you can go ahead with your homily. Tell me, doesn't it bother you that people tend not to believe exactly what you say as gospel truth? Now you're almost turning into some kind of political flip-flop, that you preach one thing and do the other. You came in here and coalesced all your political groups together in 2011. You know what happened, the viewers exactly know what happened. How can they hold you to your word this time around? And very specifically you.
No, actually, I've just said that a tragic error was made by political leaders in 2010.
Are you one of those political leaders?
No, actually, I stood firm on what we had commonly agreed to.
And then what happened?
Well, we had to act as a group, and most members of the group changed their minds on the common position we had. I do not deny that that happened. I'm saying that on this occasion, I hope, and there are reasons to believe, that we shall remain steadfast, we shall remain firm. We should not hide mistakes we have made. We should learn from those mistakes, especially very tragic mistakes. I am impressed in this process by the level of seriousness of the political parties.
What shows the level of seriousness,
by the
Dr.
determination.
Well, is it the face, the look on people's faces?
No. If you let me answer, this shows the level of seriousness.
Just a piece of paper?
We are a very diverse group. It took time to work on this. We've been able to agree on this together, not just the political parties, but civil society organizations and other national leaders.
And we have fully independent electoral commission.
Yes.
What exactly are the workings and the makings of this? Or how can this be put in place? Remember, the electoral commission is picked up from the rest of us in the society. So how are you suggesting that the government finds a new independent electoral commission? Let's not mince our words, that electoral commissioners are elected through the following process. That the president suggests names, passes them through the Ugandan parliament, which ferociously and viciously vets them, and then hands them over to us as electoral commissioners. How different will this process get to get the kind of electoral commission you're asking for?
That is part of the problem. That what you're describing is exactly what we need to end. What we have...
And start what?
May I just finish, please? We have two documents here. One is the testament. It is the manifesto. It is the call for free and fair elections now. This is where the people of Uganda stand on the issue of free and fair elections. And then in answer to your question,
very good,
with regard to each of the 10 demands we have made, it is fair for you to say on the Electoral Commission, what exactly do you propose? On the register of voters, what measures do you want to be taken, and so on.
Let's break it down for
we
viewers
have
who may not
therefore
read this document.
We have therefore brought out a companion document called Proposals for a New Electoral Management System, in which we take each of the demands and make very specific proposals to cure the ills which have bedeviled elections up till now. Very specific proposals.
Now let's get down to a new, fully independent electoral commission.
That's
Just
right.
How
the way we go about it is this. The current electoral commission is part of the NRM rigging machine. It is not independent, it is not impartial. Thus, we need a completely new electoral commission. We have proposed here that we should have a national forum which we call a national consultation, representative body that brings together various sectors of Ugandan society. That national consultation will put in place
Ugandan society. What are you talking about? Journalists, doctors, ambassadors, farmers, carpenters. Who exactly are you talking about?
If you just allow me, we are talking about political parties, we are talking about civil society, we are talking about professional associations, trade unions, and so on, business community, representing the Ugandan society as a whole. That national consultation will then select an independent panel of Ugandans to serve as an independent electoral commission. That is what we are proposing in very specific terms.
Dr. Raotunu,
and I'm
you are
happy
sounding very utopian, and possibly
you
many
asked
Ugandans
me,
do not believe.
You asked me to be specific.
Exactly.
I'm now being specific, and you're saying I'm being utopian.
It sounds too unfeasible.
Why? Why is it unfeasible? It's been done in other countries. It's been done in Kenya. It's been done in Ghana. It's been done in Sierra Leone, where I presided over the Commonwealth Electoral Observer
Why
team.
has it not been able to be done in Uganda?
Precisely.
Because you have political party groups that can never agree on a single position and
No.
act unanimously like it
That
did
has
in
nothing to do
2010.
with an independent electoral commission. I'm sorry to say. Nothing to do at all. The reason why we need these measures, let me just summarize it for you. The reason why we need these measures is not because the laws in the books are bad. It's not because we lack institutions and processes. It's because we have one particular phenomenon in Uganda. It is wholesale entrenched impunity. Which means, let me just finish, please. That one telephone call from State House makes good laws dead letter. One telephone call from State House makes institutions and processes complicit in the rigging of elections. That's why these measures. That's why these measures.
No matter who is in State House, but a phone call from State House will still have the same result, even if it were ambassador.
No, it is not true.
But let's get down to ensuring integrity of the tallying process. For example, we know our tallying process here. That you elect at a polling station A, or Larotuno and all the people at the polling station, the results are counted there in full view of the voters that are there. It is communicated in full view of everyone, sent down to the next level until it gets down to the National Tallying Center in Nambole. How more transparent are you suggesting this process can get?
We need to have a very clear process of ensuring the integrity, the security of the ballots from the polling station to the tallying centers, all the way to the national headquarters where the results are announced. We are very specific about this. Other things which are very important in our proposal is the role of the military. We want no role for the military and militia in the electoral process. So we make specific proposals. Another thing very important for us is the way in which Museveni has been able to raid the central bank, ministries, international development accounts, to raid and get public funds to pour into the NRM campaign. We need a system to monitor and to restrict that.
And what system is that? You said exactly
but we are very specific about
this. But the people watching us on the TV are not reading your document, Ambassador Larotuno.
But you need to read the document yourself. and you need to tell them. I'm just telling
I'm
you
not
now.
going to do your bidding,
I'm telling you right
Ambassador
now.
Rotunu.
You give me time to tell you this.
I invited you here to tell Ugandans in very specific terms.
I'm being
not
very
to
specific.
tell them the problems they already know. Tell them the solution.
I'm being very specific. If you take the raid on public funds, we need a mechanism that can monitor the flow of public funds from the budgetary process to the dispensation. We need to monitor the way in which supplementary budgets are being abused today. We need to monitor appropriation. Can I just finish?
Are passed by the parliament.
You want me to be specific. You want me to be specific.
Yeah, but you don't have all day, Dr. Rarotunu here.
You asked me to be specific. You say you don't have all day. I try to be. What do you want me to do?
Now listen to this, Dr. Rarotunu. These demands that you are making were made before. You said before 2010 you made these demands. The European Union's report, the findings, the recommendations, made the same. And I remember very vividly, I was in that meeting when they walked into your office, these members of the European Union Observer Mission, and you look them in the face and say, for as long as your document does not say this election was not free and fair, there is nothing tangible that your document is going to present to the Ugandan electoral populace. Now, you are saying exactly the same things that report was saying. Don't you think you have lost time? Does it bother you that you've lost time? That had you taken action then when the European Union Observer Mission visited you in 2011 in June, by now in 2014 January, you would have made some tangible steps towards achieving this?
Actually, the European Union report on the elections of 2011 was not the most straightforward, but I won't go into that.
Let me also declare my conflict of interest that by then I worked for the European Union.
Very well. Okay, I'm glad that you owned up to that.
And I understand that it was more straightforward than it should have been.
Very well. Can I just answer your question, though? Please. Can I answer your question? That is why this basket of demands has to be owned by the people of Uganda. The people of Uganda have to say enough is enough. We cannot accept this impunity. We, like any other persons around the globe, deserve truly free and fair elections. Therefore, we shall stand firm on this demand. It is not just for the political party. It's not just for civil society. This is about the people of Uganda as a whole. It's about the fate of our country as a whole.
Now, Ambassador Rarotunu, supposing government does not listen to these demands.
So we have said that is why we have provided a sunset clause. We don't want this process to be interminable. We don't want the government to string us on and then to say it is too late to do anything, game up. So we have provided for the end of April to see if there is serious commitment to have a new system in place, in which case we shall engage, or if there's no serious commitment, in which case we shall draw the necessary conclusions and then decide the way forward. So the sunset clause in these provisions, the 30th, the end of April this year. We have also provided, as I said, that these proposals should be taken to the national consultation where everybody is represented, including the regime and the NRM. And our hope is that we shall garner national consensus on a new system for organizing and managing elections in our country.
Ambassador Rarotunu, for argument's sake, let's assume that end of April government has not made any tangible step towards your direction. What will you do? What would you propose that you do?
Well, if the government insists, the regime insists on the current wholesale impunity,
and I suspect it's going to be an issue of when and not if.
You know more than I do. We bring this forward in good faith. We bring this forward transparently, in all seriousness, but the burden is on the other side to respond. We have said we don't want to we don't want to be ahead of ourselves. We shall wait until the end of April. We see what response we get or do not get. Then we shall assess the situation and decide together how to move forward. We don't want to run ahead of ourselves. And the burden for responding belongs to Yoweri Museveni and the regime. We have put forward very specific demands.
Very good. Wonderful demands. Now, supposing the government says yes, do we see a united front, a united political dispensation on the opposition with one presidential candidate to tussle it out with President Museveni, who's been endorsed by his party caucus?
If the regime is serious about a new system, we shall engage. And we want to arrive at a new system through a national consensus. The issue of how we shall present the opposition in the event that we have truly free and fair elections We shall determine that. We don't want to run ahead of ourselves. When we reach that particular bridge, we shall cross that bridge. I'm not. No, I'm not.
The truth here.
No.
You have a presidential ambitions, don't you?
Actually, don't worry about that. That's not important. Worry about Ugandans having truly free and fair elections. Ugandans exercising the same right as other Africans, as the Latin Americans, as the Europeans. Worry about that. Don't worry about Olaro Tunu being president.
Why
That's
should
not
it
important.
Because that is now the person that is going to steer this vehicle to the prosperity that we want.
We shall determine that when we reach that bridge, we shall cross it. We've thought about all
there's a bridge that you have crossed, and I have been yearning for 4 years to ask you this question. You campaigned ferociously in 2010, got down to the election in 2011, and on polling day, you, Ambassador Olaro Tunu, did not show up at the polling station. I've wanted personally to ask you this question.
Why? I did that deliberately and consciously for this very reason, that it became clear that the elections were a sham, which everybody recognized after the fact. I've been saying all along.
Why did you make a personal decision not to vote, and you didn't rally your supporters not to go
May I just finish, please?
You abandoned them in the middle of nowhere.
May I just finish, please? So, on the day of voting, I was left with my one vote to testify to the people of Uganda and the international community that this exercise was a sham, that the will of the people of Uganda will not be respected, the government emerging, the president emerging will not be based on the choice of the people of Uganda, and that is exactly what I did. I explained it. I will be the first. I'll wake up at 3 a.m. When we have truly free and fair election, I'll be the first in the queue to vote at 5 a.m. But if we do not have free and fair elections, you can't be out.
You can be very sure.
Yes.
At the next polling station, 2016, Dr. Olaro Tunu will possibly not be at that polling station, because clearly what you're making as demands here is a bit on the side of utopia.
Why?
Simply.
I cannot understand. You, a Ugandan, a full citizen of this country, can settle for such a low threshold? You do not want to have genuinely free elections?
I didn't say that.
Free by the standards of the international community as a people of Kenya and Tanzania and South Africa.
There are people in Kenya who say their election was not free and fair. The question now is, this free and fair election description of an election has become like beauty. It's all in the hands of the beholder. You, Olaro Tunu, have got your own yardstick, and it's identically universal.
These are not my yardsticks. They are exactly universal. Everything we put here are part of universal standards of what constitute free and fair elections. They are not in the eye of the beholder. Uganda cannot continue to be an exception. The Museveni regime cannot continue to be an exception. We should apply the same standards that we apply elsewhere here. These are not mine.
Let's get down to your own backyard, Olaro Tunu.
Can I just finish? These standards we have put here, they are the same standards applied anywhere else. They exist in the standards of the Commonwealth, the United Nations, the EC, everywhere the same standards are being applied. They should be applied here in Uganda.
Sounds very good. Now let's get to the standards of political party management. You are a president of the Uganda People's Congress, and there is a lot of cry that comes in from the Uganda People's Congress that you are not managing them according to the tenets of how political parties across the board are managed. That there is a case of trying to muzzle up you, a little Museveni in the UPC. How would you respond to such allegations? We've seen members, stalwart members of your party defecting of all places, the NRM. Why doesn't it bother you?
I like to speak in specifics and in concrete terms, not in generalities, unlike you. Unlike you, yes, unlike you. So let me be very specific.
I have been the same guy asking you to be very specific.
Let me be very specific.
1 minute, please.
Yes. We welcome free discussion and debate within the UPC, but it must be done within our processes, within our constitution. And we draw a line when somebody says they are UPC. You yourself said it. When in fact they're NRM, when in fact they're working for Yoweri Museveni, as you just said right now, we draw a line right there. As long as they're UPC, working to strengthen the party and to free Uganda, we don't mind what views they express. we shall work together with them. But when they are wearing UPC colors, when they're serving Museveni's project, we say no. Absolutely no.
How Dr. Laratunu, how Ambassador Laratunu gets to know who is NRM within UPC?
I can tell you right now.
Is a very interesting issue and will be topic for discussion another day when I have the privilege.
Very well, I'm happy to do that. I'm very happy to do that.
That said, let's take a very short break, and when we return, I give you my view upon all this discussion with a big story this morning. Simon says, we have a 5-year election cycle in Uganda. Since the last election I possibly can remember vividly, 2001, we always have a lot of the time between one election and the other wasted, so to speak. One of the most ferocious contenders to the throne of presidency in 2001 spent the better part of the time between 2001 and 2006 in exile. When he returned in 2005, contested ferociously and went for another cycle in 2006. Between 2006 and 2011, a lot of time was also spent doing a lot of things that possibly people will not regard as constructive to the building of a political dispensation that can will masses themselves. Enter 2011. Between then and now, we've seen a lot of the activities for the opposition rallying around, running battles in the streets. And now, 2 years to the next election, a wonderfully crafted document making very serious demands put on the table. The $1 million question is, will this time round government listen to these demands, honor them, and allow the ground to be level? Now your guess is as good as mine. After all, we know that in politics, it's about getting power, retaining it at whatever cost, and not allowing anyone to slip out of your view. With that, we come to the end of the big story. Everyday Life is up next, morning at NTV.
Is tough, but you suck it up and you stick through the good times and the bad times. What kind of example are you setting for your sister who is about to walk down the aisle herself?
Shut up, Nandi. Seriously, you just keep poking and poking at other people's relationships. You're like a cancer.
Ati, I hope you're discussing fashion because you have everything under control, yes? And the only crisis we're going to have is you clashing with the red carpet.
We've met mistakes, and that's what marriage is all about. Mistakes and forgiveness. For better or for worse.
I'm sorry, but I've got to ask.
Nothing happened between me and Lucia.
Well, Lulu is not here, and if she comes, I'll tell her you picked the wrong person to mess with, Lucy.
I can smell that liquor on your breath.
Because I've been drinking.
The average age of the international team is under 18.
The primary role of Team Uganda is to remain to Division 2.
Probably that's the only thing that can make 1 or 2 rugby fans smile, that the Cubs are doing well.
The players are not put on they don't wore the game faces. They're not the animals we saw last season, because Ferguson had the same group of players and he did deliver the Holy Grail, which is the title.
oluvannyuma lwa lutalo abaana bangi batwalibwa abekika era bulala basigadde
abamu bajja ne babakima
era twagenda mu Lukola eyo nakasongola mu Buluri twagenda mu Butale babalaaro okubuuza omwana oyo mumanyi
nti mukwate obutonde obwekonkome mukwate obutonde bwa Ebola mubuteeke mu nsigo omuzungu ayogedde palamenti buyise bosi basajja
omulembe guno gutuusemu n'abantu n'entondo kati waliwo n'emyaka egy'entondo
waliwo yakiŋŋamba
bamugamba muŋŋambe bulungi kati munkwate empola
dokita buli akwata bayibuli eno ajja kusomera bintu nga ye bw'alowooza. For example, waliwo controversy yaliwo.
Tobeera mu ssuuti ate ng'oteeka mu gganduula.
Olina kubeerako kimu.
Beerako kimu.
Kubanga okusomesezza tumaze emyaka 2 tusomesa bannayuganda. Eddembe lyammwe mulimanyi oluusi n'obusobozi obulina.
Nakulabira Abaganda.
Abaganda baagala kabaka.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. In case you're just joining us, there's a lot of action going on here. The guys, whoever is working on sound, the cameras running around, it's hectic here. And I hope it is for you. And so maybe we need to breathe a little bit and let you know what is going on with the traffic updates. And before we head over there, I'd like to go to our Facebook page, which is Morning at NTV, and let you know quickly the action that is going there. First of all, thank you so much for liking our page. Right now, we are at a whopping 3,600 people. Thank you so much. We definitely love what you're doing on that page and telling us what we should do to improve this show. And before the break, we were joined by Ambassador Olara Otunu, who was looking at some of the political changes, not just in the opposition, but also what the opposition is doing to prepare for the 2016 general elections. Your comments on that interview will also be coming up in a couple of minutes. We'll be doing some live tweets on our Facebook page. Remember that you can also be a part of this by sending an SMS to 6565. Quickly going through your messages on Facebook. Evelyn Babidia saying, hello, I like your program. Thank you very much. And Mike Jakuma answering the question. We have more comments coming in from Kihembo Wilbert saying, this is the best morning show in Kasese. Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Brian, this is Godfrey from Serere. We love the show. Regards to my mom, brothers, and friends. Hey, you're even sending greetings. Okay. We have more comments. Honest Sentongo saying, this is quite refreshing in the morning. Ebaker Male saying, we had long waited for this moment. We love that action. Remember, our Twitter handle is also Morning at NTV, so please feel free to like that page, to follow us there. We're about 200, we're not doing very well on our Twitter page. Go and follow, and you can get updates of whatever is going on. If you're leaving your house, wherever you are, coming up, the traffic report. Now, in case you're just joining us, it's only a few minutes after 8 o'clock, 8:06, coming to you live from the Kampala Serena rooftop. If you are heading out of your house in a couple of minutes, where I'm standing right now, Chintu Road, close to Serena Hotel, the traffic is really easy. Cars are moving slowly. Remember yesterday, a car just ran to do the yard at Ginger Road. But this morning, let's check out some of the traffic in the city. At Yusuf Lule Road, that's the traffic that's going on right now. The cars are a bit held, of course, taking it slowly. The traffic officers are doing their job. That is Yusuf Lule Road. And then we head over to Bukoto. Bukoto, Henry sending us a picture over there. You can see what is going on. If you're passing via Bukoto, you'll have to wait a little bit longer, stretching onto Kabira Country Club. You'll have to go through that. And heading over to Fairway Hotel, an update coming in from William, and a tweet, someone tweeting us this morning where they were. Just give me a couple of seconds to look that up. Albert Murunji saying all clear on Yusuf Lule Road at the moment. Fairway roundabout, traffic flowing smoothly too. There are no delays. And remember that you can be our traffic reporter every morning on this show by sending us a picture to our Twitter, morning at NTV, or you can WhatsApp that picture to 07777167730. The number will be flashing on your screen very soon, but it's 07777167730. And let us know what roads to avoid or what roads to take. That's all we had for you on Traffic Report. Coming up, Mabel at the NTV studios with some of your birthday wishes. Stay with us.
Happy birthday to you.
Now here at Morning at NTV, we like to celebrate with you. And today we are celebrating with Tosh Reynolds, who was born in 1990, works at Eagle Money Link, and went to Kajansi Progressive. We would also like to celebrate today with Brian Impira, who is at who went to Uganda Christian University, as well as Claire Balondemo, who also went to Makerere College School and to Uganda Christian University. Remember to keep those messages coming in. 6565 is our text line. And moving on to Twitter, where we would like to hear from you as well. You can follow us at Morning at NTV. Some of the messages coming in. Nasom here says, I think this is all addressed to Olaro Tunu. Otunu, what can you do for the youth once we vote you? And then Emily is saying, why are they so worked up with the N? Why don't they get to work, get their hands dirty, and tell us what they're planning for the nation? And then Emmanuel here says on Facebook says, Kasiate, we definitely know that you have a right to support any side, but whose side are you on in this discussion? Because you have so early in the morning, because you are having so early in the morning, you're having, I think, people so early in the morning, he needs to be appointed as the NRM chief whip. And then Doreen says on Twitter, Morning at NTV, can I get a mug? Well, Doreen, you will have to answer the question. Be among the first people to get the question right, and you will win yourself a mug. And then Isma says, thank you for waking me up real early. I make it a date every day. Patrick says, finally a morning show on NTV. And then Francis says, NTV, keep shining. Remember to like our Facebook page, as Brian said. We have lots of your likes. Don't just go and like the page and say, oh, I like. Actually click the like button of our Facebook page. Would love to hear from you. We shall now return to the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop to Brian for Everyday Life.
A very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for staying with us. And if you are just joining us, it's only 11 minutes after 8 o'clock. This is Morning at NTV, the only place where we are wired to get your day started. Earlier, I told you that how your day turns out depends on what you listen to or watch in the morning. What are you watching? I'm glad you're with us because we have the right stuff to give you. Earlier, we had Ambassador Olara Otunu with us, telling us about the changes in the political dispensation in this country, and of course, what the opposition is doing to prepare themselves for the general elections in 2016. Retreat is going on at Chankwanzi, and some of the MPs have fronted the president again to be unopposed. Your comment or suggestion on our Twitter handle, Morning at NTV. Feel free to like our page, Morning at NTV. And this morning on Everyday Life, remember every Tuesday we talk about things that pertain to you and making sure that you become the best person you can be. In this tough economy, all of us would definitely want a raise or a promotion. But getting your boss to add that extra money to your bank account may be quite a very, very hard feat. Today we are going to look at how you can position yourself as an invaluable asset in your company and ultimately attracting your boss to make sure you snitch the promotion. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the profile of our guest. Doreen, welcome to the show.
Thank you
so much for joining us.
Thank you, Brian.
I think I last talked to you when you were about to get married, and tell us about that.
That was like 10 years ago, Brian. I've been married for that long now.
How is marriage?
It's beautiful. I must say it does depend on the person you get married to. If you get married to a friend, you know, who shares the same values and systems as you do, then you will be able to work out any challenges that come up in the marriage. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Anything in the cooking?
Next question.
Doreen, thank you so much for joining us. You are a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
What else apart from that do you do?
Well, I am a lawyer by profession. That's my that's what I was trained as. But then the thing is, right now I'm doing motivational speaking and personal development consultancy full time. So nothing else.
What made you switch from?
Passion, purely passion. I mean, I believe that you have one chance to live, right? So what better way to live it in a very happy way? And I had a chance to actually leave my job at the time when I left it to pursue what I'm doing right now.
Right.
So yeah, I was very lucky to, because at that time I was still staying with my parents, you know, so I had the leeway to actually leave my job and pursue my passion.
Oh.
Yes.
You've talked about passion. I like that word. What usually makes us lose this passion at our workplaces? You come in and you say, Banange, whatever you want me to do, I'll do anything. And then a couple of months down the road, you're losing it.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm tired of this job. I wish I didn't leave my past job. What makes us, you know, get out of this when we had that fire burning at the beginning?
Obviously, the general rule is that people obviously look for particular jobs because they want to fend for their families and all. You know, but let's take a look at, you know, what it's supposed to be like. You know, I don't believe that, you know, our lives are supposed to be, you know, guided by just fending for our lives. You know, I really believe that it's really possible to get a job that you absolutely love and yet have that job pay your bills, have that job make you happy as a person. So obviously one of the main reasons that why people lose that passion and that inner drive is because they are not so much driven by that inner person, right? Okay, here's Doreen.
Yeah.
Here's what I love. Here's what my values stand for. And hence this is the job that will help me, you know, stand for those values and tap into those passions and joys, okay? So it so happens that a majority of us in this country, and Africa, so to speak, if you really do compare it to the Western world where they encourage people to follow their passions. If you want to be a poet, go ahead and be a poet.
Right.
You know, who says you have to be a doctor?
Right.
Right? So, so the thing is, right now, it's so much about what's prestigious. I have to be a lawyer, I have to be a doctor, I have to be an accountant, as opposed to what do I stand for? What makes me happy as a person? So if you get a job that's not in consonance with who you are as a person, then I kid you not, you know, a few years down the road, if the money was a lot, a few years down the road, that money will cease to satisfy you and you'll start looking for something better.
Right.
Yeah.
There are people who say, you know, I talked to a couple of people at the university and they're like, I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
But someone kind of gave me a consolation. Well, it's okay for you not to know what you want to be, because at 60, I'm looking for something that satisfies me.
Yeah.
Something that makes me want to wake up every day. But you've started the job.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Yes.
But you've been at that particular level for years. And the young people come, they are promoted,
Yes.
they go up. You know, what is the problem? Do I have to specifically go to the boss and say, boss, this one I've been here for 10 years. Ndabamu. Is that what I have to do to get that promotion?
Obviously, there's two kinds of promotions that you can get. There's what we call the self-promotion, and there's other people who prefer to wait for the organic process. You know, let me sit back and wait for my higher boss to notice me organically, you know, as opposed to really me fronting myself and saying, you know, this is what I can do in a nice way, you know, and actually approaching the boss and saying, you know what, here's what I've done for the company, this and that, you know, and here's what I would like, you know, ask and you shall receive.
Isn't that to, I think our bosses would brand it, you're so much in their face, you are demanding when your time is not yet.
But obviously, again, I need to qualify that by saying that before you can take on the self-promotion method or the organic process, you need to assess your company culture, which goes back to what you're saying, you know, because you don't want to be on the offensive where your boss says, oh my gosh, you're so up in my face.
Right.
What's your company culture in regards to promotion? Okay? For some companies, it's not only dependent on merit. It's not purely dependent on, oh, you brought these ideas on board, or you're doing so well, blah, 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 blah. For other companies, it's also about politics and other things that you'd have to find out. So it's very imperative that you assess your company culture. If that is the culture in your company, then yes, go ahead and self-promote yourself. If the culture in your company is that you have to be discovered organically, then there's other ways in which you can actually, you know, position yourself so that you can be noticed, and then, you know, that when the organic process then, you know, has fully ballooned, then you can be noticed and promoted.
Organic processes, it sounds so boring and takes a long time. I personally, I think I have one problem. I get bored. Very quickly. And I want to self-promote myself. Let's focus on that. What do you do? What are some of the things you do to position yourself strategically for the promotion?
Well, personally, I believe that the first and foremost, you need to, first of all, have your career goals set out on paper. What do you want to achieve? Okay? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from then on, what do you want to achieve? And, you know, I've talked to a couple of people who've said, you know what, during this whole talk about setting goals is very commonplace. I mean, we've heard about it over and over. It's not
too cliche.
It's too cliche. Set goals, set goals, set goals. Then what? I'll tell you something. Our brains operate on the basis of a certain mechanism called cybernetics. Okay? And let me explain that to you. Cybernetics is basically the scientific study of how, you know, our brains, first of all, our brains, animals and machines, how they are controlled and how they respond. I'll tell you how it works. Do you know that an airplane, okay, when it's flying to its destination, 90% of the time it's off course? But because the airplane has that cybernetic means of control, if it does go off course, okay, of course, bearing in mind that the pilot has already set the plane's destination, which for us is the goal, okay? So if it goes off course, then the cybernetic mechanism of the plane notifies that the automatic response system of the plane to realign itself, okay, in consonance with its destination. Now, the same applies to us and our brains. Our brains have what we call the reticular activating system.
Okay, sometimes in there. Let's go.
Reticular activating system. So here's how it works. Now, this is not, you know, hullabaloo or some sort of mystic thing. This is how your brain actually works. When you set a goal and you constantly remind your brain what it is you want to achieve, I want that promotion. Here's what I want to achieve 1 year down the road. What the reticular activating system then does is that it enables you to identify the people, the opportunities. You know, it opens up your mind to think of new ideas that you can actually contribute to the company in order for you to be noticed. I'll give you an example. Have you ever noticed that one day when you wake up and say for instance, today, my favorite car what's your favorite car?
The one the president drives.
What's it called?
Mark 8900.
Mark 8900. All right.
All right.
Okay, if that's your favorite car, right? But there's not too many in Uganda. Good Lord. Does anyone else drive it?
I'll self-promote myself.
Okay, let's just imagine we live in an economy, a developed economy, where there is a couple of people who are driving those cars. If you wake up today and say, you know what, a Mark 8900 is my ultimate dream car.
Yes.
What you're going to notice is that the minute you identify that as your best car, your dream car, everywhere you go, you will notice it, which was quite different from before you had actually, quite identified what it is that you actually want. Now, the reticular activating system pretty much works the same way. It enables you to identify the things you have to do. So if you set your goal, okay, what that RAS is going to do for you is that it will enable you to, first of all, identify the online courses you need to take, what you have to do in order to make yourself very suitable, for that particular role, okay, self-promote yourself, the particular people, the networks, and any other thing that you have to do.
Right.
So that's the first and, most important thing that you have to do,
right.
Setting goals.
Setting goals.
Yes.
All right. What else? I've set my goals. I want to reach this destination. Yes. In 5 years, I want to be the boss.
Yes. Something else you need to do, of course, is to be a valuable team player. Valuable team player. What do I mean by that? In our field of study, we have what we call collaborative leadership. And that's very much on demand right now. Gone are the days where we're looking for, that one pioneer, I alone have a vision, blah, 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 blah. No. Right now, it's about how can you as brand collaborate with me to get this goal, achieved, okay? To get the company doing better. So you have to collaborate with your other team members in order to achieve those goals. Now, what will that do for you? That will get more people on board. People will like you more, okay? And people will actually start to notice you more. You'll become likable and hence be more noticeable, okay? Right. And obviously, apart from the collaborative leadership that you have to apply within the team setting, one other thing you have to do is to apply what the Japanese call kaizen. Now, kaizen is really the bedrock of their philosophy for their companies. And basically in English, it means continuous and never-ending improvement. So basically that means that you need to consistently add value to you as a person.
Yourself.
Right. Look at your job. What are those key areas that will enable you to contribute in very outstanding ways in a company? So once you've identified the areas, then what you have to do is build your value in that area so that you can become very, very valuable in that area that will take the company to where it wants to go. Okay? Now, obviously, you have to consistently commit yourself to doing such, hence the consistent and never-ending improvement. Yes. So then you'll become a valuable member to the team. Right. When it comes for time for you to leave the company, you'll be begged to stay because there's certain things that you know that other people do not know. Right.
Okay.
So teamwork.
So far, two. Valuable team player, career goals. And
earlier I mentioned identify what your corporate culture is. What's your corporate culture?
Whether it's organic or
no. What I mean is, what's your corporate culture? Is it so much about merit only? Will they promote you on the basis of merit? Or are there other things you have to do? Obviously, take it to the side of morality. Okay, if you know what I mean. Yeah, you do, yeah? Okay, all right then. So, corporate culture. And something else you have to do is to expand your self-concept. Earlier you talked about how young people will come into a company and then they bypass you who has been in the company for 10 years. Yeah. I tell you what, by self-concept I mean your perception of who you are as brand. Who are you? How do you perceive yourself? Okay? Now, in human behavior, I'll tell you this, that our human behavior is not governed by what we know, but it's governed by our vision of who we are. So if you think that you're not worth it, you're not valuable, you're not worth the role, I guarantee you there is no way you will, advance in that company. So you have to enlarge your self-concept. I'll give you an example. Elephants. Elephants in India are used for farming, right? So Indians developed a mode through which they can tame these elephants where they are still babies. Because obviously when it's grown, there's no way you can tame it. So while an elephant is still a a kid. What's the young of an elephant?
For the benefit of this show, let's just call it a young elephant.
A young elephant. So when it's still a young elephant, right? So what they do is they get a very tiny rope, and they tie that rope to the leg of an elephant, and tie it to a little iron stake, okay, that's held in the ground that cannot be broken by this young elephant. So obviously the young elephant tries to break free of that little rope, but it fails. And they keep it on that same rope. Here's what's amazing. When the elephant is grown, huge as it is, they still use the same small rope that held it down as a baby. Which rope, by the way, it has the ability to break free of.
Yeah, easily.
Easily. But you know what happens? This elephant, from when it's young, has been programmed to think that that rope is strong, too strong for it to break. Okay? So it never in its old stages, does it try to break free of this rope.
Right.
Okay? So that limits its abilities. That limits its abilities to do anything. Now, the same applies to us as people. Okay? When we were young, we were told you never make it. You're a fool. You come from a very poor family. Who do you think you are? Or your boss has told you that you'll never make it in this company. Name it, a couple of things, okay? So we've allowed our self-concept to be governed by such limiting beliefs.
We still hold on to the negative things that whether our parents told us or our friends told us in school.
True.
Awesome.
So we still hold on to that. So it so happens that when you hold on to such, there's no way you can, apply for a greater job than you have right now. You constantly listen to that inner voice that tells you, what are you even thinking?
Right.
Right.
I like what you called it, expanding your self-concept.
Self-concept.
I talk to many friends and I tell them, you can't, I think in a layman's language, it's building your self-confidence.
Yes,
self-esteem.
true.
Some people think, I'm too, I don't think I can manage a job. I don't think I can step up to that, that place. And when they are called to take on the thing, they're like, but...
yeah.
Quickly, as we wrap this up, appraisals are opportunities for people to get promotions. I have a friend who does this research and prepares the figures. And in some companies, it comes down to statistics.
Sure.
I have brought in this many clients. I have added this profit. This is where our brand is going. What can you do for the appraisal to make sure that you set yourself apart? What can you do during that time?
Yeah.
When they're trying to see how you've worked? Is there something that you can do?
Obviously, listen, I think, first of all, I have to address it from the bedrock. If you look at our culture, we hear from a culture that tells you, don't put yourself so out there. What are you even thinking? You're being so egotistical. You need to be so calm and, let them find out what you've done. Okay? And again, it's inculcated in us when we're in school, when you're in university. I'll give you my personal experience, right? While I was doing my law at Makerere University, I mean, this is an institution that teaches you how to, all our institutions in Uganda, majority, teach you how to more or less receive what the lecturer is telling you, as opposed to questioning and saying, you know what, I don't agree with that. Here's what I think. Okay? And so what happened was that when I went for my master's, at Warwick University, and we were in a class where the whole system was very different, and there was so much of, they would say, fine, China did this, China devalued its currency. If you were the president of China or the States, would you think it would be right? What would you do? So now, in my mind, I'd be thinking, well, China has already done this. Why are you even asking me? It has already done it.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So I had a very hard time, adjusting to that sort of, tell them what you think, tell them what you've achieved, tell them why you've actually, brought the company and where the company is right now. Right. So I think during the appraisal system, we have to break free of this culture that holds us so bound to just sitting back, and not really airing out what we've actually done in a way that exudes humility and without it being cocky, right? Tell them, here's what I've done. Okay?
What your boss misunderstands that you're arrogant. And
there's a difference. There's a difference between you telling your boss that you're great, okay, and you telling your boss about the great things you've done, okay? Right. So during the appraisal, you need to be sure that you tell your boss, not that you're great, but tell him about the great things you've done for the company.
Right.
Right.
Doreen, always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure I will call you again.
Okay.
Please let us know when the good stuff is happening.
Ah.
If you're just joining us, we are looking at how you can position yourself for that promotion. We get up every day, Monday to Friday. Some people work Monday to Sunday. But we've been doing this for the last 10 years and nothing is really, making sense. And you keep seeing your friends from one company to another, making all these promotions worth their while. What are you doing for yourself? Doreen was here to tell us a little bit about that. I was really excited about expanding your self-concept, something that many Ugandans need to work on. But you need also to be eager to learn, and as the business evolves, so you must. Sure. If your business goes to another class, evolve yourself to be able to get to that level. There are no ifs and or buts. It's in your best interest to take advantage of each presented opportunity that has the potential to make you better at what you do. I think I stand in a testimony to that. I have evolved slowly. And many of you have seen me evolve from a very young presenter to now, I'm about to hit CNN. Okay, my boss, I think, had that. But let us know what you think about this on our platforms, Twitter, Facebook. You can also send us an SMS to 6565. In a couple of minutes, we'll be heading on to Morning at NTV Sport. Isma standing by with Mabel Kebirunji. Isma, what do we have this morning? Well, Isma is still sorting himself. I think he's getting the Arsenal syndrome. But let's leave him to prepare. And a very happy birthday to my very good friend, Flavia Tumusime, a colleague. And I did some amazing work with her. Happy birthday, Flavia, at Capital FM. Hope you enjoy and blow 1,000 candles. For the rest of you who have had birthdays today, very happy birthday. We'll be right back with Morning at NTV Sports. Stay with us.
I'm probably in Metropolis. I do this for the love, so this is non-profit shit. I'm bored walking, so you can call this Monopoly.
Log in.
NTV so magnetic.
I don't even know what to ask you because I just feel like I'm standing next to Juliana.
But not the sugar, the salt, or the bread, but bought the best in order to promote all the sectors that you've got.
For the glitz and glamour of Kampala's most flamboyant people and events.
Exclusive, woo! I love it!
I'm so bored up right now.
Log in only on NTV.
Have a baby by me, baby. Be a millionaire, I write the check before the baby comes.
On the next episode of La Patrona.
But there's a problem. Your son, Fernando, was there.
What?
Death!
Gabriela Suarez is responsible for every single one of these deaths.
Then she's a murderer, and she should go to jail.
Calm down, guys. That's enough. That's enough. Take it easy, David. Enough. You also believe that stupidity? Gabriela had nothing to do with that explosion. She was just another victim.
Hello, David. I came to get you, honey. You more than anyone need to be present at your dad's funeral.
La Patrona.
Whose decision it is to wear a condom? It has to have a good foundation for where it's coming from. When you see a back show and there is no bra, you have to control your mind. That's how a man was created.
Men and women are different. We go into relationships for many reasons.
Me, if you're a chick, I don't want to get pregnant, this is locking it down.
Someone could be in a relationship not because they love you,
but because it's convenient.
Are you saying that when a woman tells her friends, oh, my man is so good, he provides for me, he provides for the family, he's great in bed, this is going to make my friend go to my man?
When the marriage is actually a marriage of convenience.
It is not necessarily true that when you put together with someone, when someone is forced on you, love will grow.
If you fall in love with somebody and it's working for you, marry them.
Men, every Wednesday at only on NTV.
The average age of the international team is under 18.
The primary role of Team Uganda is to remain to Division 2.
Probably that's the only thing that can make one or two rugby fans smile, that the Cubs are doing well.
The players haven't put on they haven't wore the game faces. They're not the animals we saw last season, because Ferguson had the same group of players and he did deliver the Holy Grail, which is the title.
And the time check right now is 21 minutes on to 9 o'clock. Very soon we'll be signing out. But before we head out, Isma is here with the morning sport. And Isma, looking very good.
Yes, good morning.
Are you in
Sometimes
love? I'm preparing for Valentine's.
Wow, it's a Tuesday. Probably it's too soon to be planning for Valentine's.
It's Friday! Valentine's is on Friday. What do you mean too soon?
3 days. You know, I love to do things on impulse. I don't want to plan this, and it gets a bit boring when you do the Valentine's preparation 3-4 days before. I'd love to just wake up and think, what do I want to do? Do I fly to New York for Valentine's shopping?
So you wake up on Thursday morning.
Do I come to morning at NTV and say a Valentine's message to the right person? I could propose on TV.
Wow, we're actually looking for someone to propose.
That would be awesome.
On for Friday. Anyway, in volleyball, the national ladies team are preparing for the World Cup qualifiers in Kenya. What chances do they have?
I think their chances are very slim. You've got to look at how many teams will make it from this competition to go to the World Championships, because they have to play Kenya, they have to play Seychelles, Cape Verde, Mozambique, Senegal, and Tunisia. And only one of these teams will qualify. But the volleyball has taken so many strides that if you look at where they were probably 2-3 years ago, you didn't think they'd be in the final stage of qualifying. They had to beat Egypt here during the qualifiers last year to get to this stage.
Right.
And Egypt, of course, fell into the other group that is going to be playing in Algeria. I think the Uganda Volleyball Federation has done a bit of work to get this team ready. Recently, they were training in Netherlands. They had a camp there in Groningen just to get the team ready for this. So I have a feeling that while they may not finish first in this pool, because there are only 6 countries, you have to win your 5 games to finish first and then advance. And from what I saw when these teams came here last year, the Kenyans have the strongest team. They are much taller. And you know, with the volleyball, if you're going to block right at the net or spike, a height is a big advantage. And probably it's a big advantage in so many of the sports disciplines. So when I look at that, I'm thinking it's Kenya that is going to be the biggest challenge. I've not watched enough of, for example, the Seychelles or the Cape Verde to decide how good they are, or Mozambique. But from just look at all the other teams, Tunisians are normally, or the North Africans are normally very good in all the disciplines that are the indoor sport. They play very good basketball, they play very good squash and badminton, so I said it should be very good in the volleyball too. And then the Senegalese, knowing how tall the Senegalese are, I remember a friend of mine moving to Dakar and telling me that when he moved around Dakar, he looked like a pygmy, and he's not that short because everyone looked very tall. So it's going to be a big challenge, but at least they've got themselves in position to get to this level 1, and then I think they've had the kind of practice you need when you're going for such an event.
Okay.
On the weekend, KCCA and Victoria University playing. KCCA, of course, coming back with a win. Very, very impressive performance. But Victoria University is quite a worry. Losing 3-0. Coming back, do you think it's time now? They just say, okay, guys, we need to do this. Recall the players they suspended.
I think it's one of those things that is causing quite a debate, whether Mole Biekwaso should recall Mike Serumbaga, Dennis Kuma, and Savio Kabugo. I think when it does recall them, it's a very tough situation for him. You call them you admit they are probably more important than you are. Because when you push them away from the team, I was trying to lay down a marker, a bit of spare the rod and spoil the child when they have done something wrong. So is in that kind of situation, do I decide these players to come back in the team? And sadly for him, there isn't a lot of time to rectify them because it's only 7 days between the first leg and the second.
They're playing on Sunday.
They do play here this weekend. So I look at, if I was sitting in Moleve Kwaso's shoes, it's a very tough situation.
Isn't this a situation of Obua not playing for us and we go on to lose? And then we are all saying, Obua should have played. If these boys don't play and Victoria University goes on to lose, isn't Molly going to be blamed?
Biakwaso could be in a bit of trouble there, but I think when you want to be a disciplinarian, there is no middle ground. When you decide to expel these players on those grounds, they don't come back. Now the problem is that I don't think Victoria University have the depth in quality to cope without these 3 players. I honestly believe if, and I'm one of those who are pro players, I would love to see the players on the pitch. Right. I honestly believe that if I'm Mole Biekwaso, I own up and say, Mike Serumaga, Guma and Kabugo, you're back into the team. Right. But that sends the wrong message. When you do that, all the other players in the team who have been having their disciplinary problems will think, okay, the coach can do anything. He pushes these players and 2 weeks later they are back in the team. And yet when they were suspended, there wasn't a time frame that probably we are only suspending you for the first leg and be in the team for the second. So it's a tough one for him. I'm thinking it requires the players, and then all the other players in the team will feel the coach isn't that powerful after all.
Right.
And moving on, Premier League, some action tonight. We have Hull City with hosting Southampton today. But is this also an opportunity for Chelsea to pull away from the pack? They will play West Brom.
Chelsea, of course, not the most glamorous of nights I've got to say in the Premier League because there's only one big fixture. You look at all the other 3 or 4 fixtures and you're thinking, okay, I can only watch a Chelsea game. They're traveling to the Hawthorns, a place they don't win many. They've actually lost on their last 2 occasions there when they visit West Brom. And if you remember the first leg game in the league this season, Chelsea only stole that point with Eden Hazard falling over in the box and then that late penalty to get them the 2-2 draw. But this is a very big opportunity for Chelsea. They lead the table. They're only a point ahead of all the other teams that are chasing them. That's ahead of Arsenal and Manchester City. So for me, it's a big opportunity. And at this point in time, I've got to say, regardless of what we're discussing last week when Mourinho said they're not even in the title race, I've got to say that right now, I feel Chelsea have the psychological advantage. And you could almost feel it when they played Newcastle. In the aftermath of Chelsea beating up on Manchester City for the second time this week, last Monday, you get the feeling that they feel they can win the league. And Eden Hazard has alluded to that in some interviews, and probably Chelsea's best player, as per his hat-trick against Newcastle on Saturday. So you've got to think that this is a big opportunity for me. If Chelsea don't pick the points like they did, they missed out on this, I think about 2 weeks ago, when they're playing against West Ham, that game ending goalless. It should be an opportunity that Chelsea have given away. And I think if Mourinho doesn't win such a game, and I've used this several times, that you don't deserve to win the league if you don't win such fixtures. But I have a feeling that Mourinho knows that this is the fixture that will give them a bit of breathing space.
At the top.
At the top. Knowing that Arsenal play Man United tomorrow night. Knowing that Liverpool are away at Fulham. Knowing that Man City, who have not scored a goal in 2 outings, also have a midweek fixture that is tomorrow, 24 hours after Chelsea play. So it's a big opportunity for him to get those 3 points and pull away before the rivals maybe play tomorrow.
Right. Okay. Real Madrid thumping Atletico, Sweden. And tonight there's a return leg in the King's Cup. What are the odds that Atletico is going to overturn this?
Wow. Sometimes sports throws up so many miracles. I remember one when several years ago, AC Milan beating Deportivo La Coruña 4-1 in the first leg in the Champions League in the quarterfinals, and then Deportivo overturning that, thanks to one of my greatest players, Juan Carlos Valeron, a 4-0 masterclass.
Arsenal overturning that at Inter Milan.
At Inter Milan at some point, but that was still, I think, lower in terms of what was at stake.
Right.
I think Atletico Madrid have some of their toughest tasks now this season. They didn't win at the weekend. They were beaten at Almeria by 2 goals. Almeria is one of the worst teams in the La Liga. And they didn't score a goal at the Bernabeu. If they had 1 goal, they would be thinking, okay, we could get 2-0 in this one. Unluckily for them, Cristiano Ronaldo, who is suspended for the league games and missed the game against Villarreal, does play in this one. He's going to play in the Kings Cup, and for me that's a big worry for Atletico Madrid, who are not scoring that many goals right now. They could score 4 on one weekend and then fail to score on the other. So I have a feeling that whatever Atletico throw at Real, I would fancy Real to advance to the final. The same way I'll fancy Barcelona tomorrow when they play Real Sociedad. But there are things probably Atletico can bank on. That defensive display last week is the reason they are in this situation.
Right.
They could point to so many things that Pepe was too physical, Diego Costa and so many other areas of the pitch. But defensively, you don't go into a game against Real Madrid. You could actually score 5 against any team and then have 2 own goals. You don't let Real Madrid lead the game, because Emiliano Insua, when he turned that ball, it was for the first goal, it was a bit harmless. So I think at that point in time, Atletico will beat themselves about that first leg result. And for me, Real Madrid are playing some of the best football in Europe. Yes. They've actually won 9 of their last 10. They won 8 games in January, and since the start of February, they played 2 games, drawn 1 with Athletic Bilbao, and then look at what happened in this one. They beat Atletico 3-0, and then beat Villarreal 4-2. So you're playing a form side. Even if you think Atletico have the abilities, and they've shown enough, that's why they're among the leaders in the La Liga this season, I don't think they have it to knock out Real Madrid tonight.
A quick comment about, and for the benefit of those who don't watch Omomulio Sports Bar, Ronaldo's red card. Does it work here? Or it's just for the Premier League.
It only works in and you could call it Premier League, because it's called the Spanish Primera Division, which is a Premier. The Primera is the Premier the same way. It works in the La Liga. It doesn't work in the Kings Cup. And for me, it's a bit confusing. And when Ancelotti was giving that press conference, that the Carlo Ancelotti, the Real Madrid coach, saying that Ronaldo will play tonight, probably some journalists in that room also confused us. Does he have to play?
Yes.
Yeah, and Ancelotti told them, I don't make the rules. The people make the rules, say he can play in the Kings Cup, but can't play in the league. I'd love to have him for all the competitions. And that's the least the coach could do.
An opportunity for them to overturn the red card. Is Real Madrid bigger than the referees in Spain?
They tried to do that. They tried to do that to overturn the red card. They suddenly lost their appeal in the Madrid perspective. Eventually, the referee was suspended.
And that's what perplexed me. How can a referee be suspended when he did the right thing? Is the club bigger than...
I think Real Madrid is one of the most powerful clubs in football. I think they are so powerful that if they sneeze, the La Liga would catch a cold or something. The Spanish FA would be so afraid of them. And it's because of the kind of the resources they have. I just had a joke about, for example, the president of Real Madrid, Florentino Perez, that, for example, if the referees don't decide to do what Madrid want, he would chase them out of his apartment because he's a property mogul back home. So there are all those things. But this is something that, for me, the La Liga has done something wrong. You don't suspend a referee on the precedent that the referee did something wrong and the club complained. You're setting a bad precedent. That means that every club can go and complain. We're going to get to a point where probably our clubs can choose which referee they want. Yes. And for me, that is totally wrong. You cannot.
But then how do you discipline a ref?
How do you discipline a ref?
Yeah.
Refs are supposed to be above the law in sports speak for me. They are supposed to be above the law.
It's the ultimate.
The ultimate, the final judge.
Yes.
Actually, in rugby there is a rule at the bottom of all the rules. They say the referee will be the final judge of fact and law. Fact is what they've seen and what is in the book. Actually, even in refereeing in football, there is what they say that the referee's decision is final. Yes. But there is also a very important rule at the end of the football manual that says, in the rules and regulations, that they say there's something about common sense. Common sense is as important as knowing that this is a yellow card offense or something. Right. That's common sense rule. So for me, if you're going to keep the sanity of sport, you've got to let referees remain at the level where they are so powerful.
Where they're like little gods.
Yeah, and I remember Mourinho giving this a few years ago in his first stint at Chelsea, saying that while managers give press conference at the end of the game to explain their decision and players do the same, referees should be accorded the same right to come and address press conference and explain, I set off Mabel for exactly this. I saw Brian kick out at someone. I gave this corner because I thought such and such a player did something like this. So probably that would be stretching it too much.
Maybe that's what the old man is going to do in his next term. But in Italy, Udinese carrying a one-goal lead to Florence in the Italian Cup. Who are you rooting for the final?
I want to go for Fiorentina to knock out Udinese. Fiorentina only need to win this game by a goal to nil. It hasn't been their best of season. They've had a lot of injuries. Mario Gomez, who they signed from Bayern Munich, hasn't been fit. He's back in training and should be fit for this fixture. Sadly for them, Giuseppe Rossi, who has been one of their best players this season, is also out injured and is actually in Spain undergoing surgery. He's actually in the US undergoing surgery. And then they had to sign Alessandro Matri from AC Milan in the January window to come and just shore up the squad. But Udinese are some of the worst troublers in the league, anywhere in Italy, whether it's the league or the Italian Cup. And when I watch the first leg, probably the reason why the margin is only 2-1 is because Udinese didn't take their chances. When they are playing at home, they are a very, very, very strong side. Now, it's their away fixtures like this in Florence, when the viola in their purple and they sing for about 95 minutes. For me, that would be a big difference. While Fiorentina have not been the same team from a few years ago, they lost Stefan Jovetic, who they sold to Manchester City. The other players, Guardado has been having a fantastic season on the right. I think I've lost some of the football that Juan Vargas has played down the left. Now they've got to get a few balls in the box. When they get into that situation where they put Udinese on the back foot, I fancy Fiorentina to go and get a goal, or probably two, to knock out Udinese and advance to that Italian Cup final.
Isma, under 30 seconds, Rongino in Barara saying transfers for Man United.
I don't think at this point they would be that relevant because the silly season is off. But I would really love to see United signing a central midfielder. They'll definitely sign a defender. Now that Vidic is leaving and Rio Ferdinand won't be back in this team for me a long time, they've got to sign a few players, I think, come the summer. And they've got to be about 3 or 4, 5 players just to get David Moyes in touch with this squad. It's been looking dire.
Right.
They look short in all areas on the pitch.
And of course, after a very disappointing performance there, when they were equalized in the 94th minute, wow.
Faggy time.
Faggy time. Faggy time was 94th. You do not do anything. You don't celebrate until the refs. But catch this and more on Omomori at 1:30 p.m. with Isma and Lumansi, but also Sports Bar every Monday, live from Club Silk at 10:30 p.m. We'll be right back with the African proverb. Good morning. Good morning, and if you're just joining us, it's only 5 minutes on to 9 o'clock. We are leaving you in 5. This is really going so fast, I can't believe this. But today's African proverb, hold a true friend with both hands.
How do you tell someone is a true friend? What are the kind of tests? You know, one of the things I love about, I really love science. And when I was studying chemistry, you know, back in O-level, I didn't manage to continue with the chemistry thereafter. You had, when you make ammonium nitrate, it's one of those that smells like urine in the lab. You bring a red litmus paper, and when you pass it through, it turns blue. When it's blue, it turns red. Something like that. And this is a kind of litmus test you want for a friend. Everyone has a story of a friend who has stabbed them at the back.
Yes.
Probably, Mabel, you have one.
Ladies test a lot. You test your friends a lot. You test them with money, test them with men.
I think male friends, but I don't think a lady would do that to her female friends.
Yes, you do.
I wouldn't, Brian, and I don't think anyone would.
How do you test your friends?
I don't test them at all. I'm actually hearing this for the first time.
What do you do to make sure that...
No, but you can just see from someone's reaction that this person likes you, or your friends, or you have a relationship. Yes. But
yeah, I can lie to you. I can forge a secret and I lie to you. And then I see if you'll pass it out.
There's all this thing about finding something genuine. There is nothing like that. I think we all feel extremely insecure that we start accusing others of not being insecure. I think at the point where you live in real honesty and tell yourself, I can only control the things within my powers. I cannot control what Mabel feels. I cannot control what Brian will do to me. But I can control what I can do for Mabel. Now that's where it all starts. You've got to be, that honesty comes from inside. You cannot find it by trying to test someone, whether they're the right person, whether they're doing something. And I've always joked about something that people people have thought that the human development appears like technology. That there was once a Pentium 1, then a 2, then a 3, then a 4. There is nothing like that. The human development remains the same. The same Mabel here will probably be a little fatter in 2-3 years or something, but will be the same person. So this whole thing about testing friends, for me, it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible to find a true friend.
Well, if you have a true friend, make sure you hold them with both hands. And that's all we had for you today. A couple of your comments on Facebook. Alice Lukanga blackmailing me and telling, I think this is something that my producer should listen to, that we need better furniture. I don't know if that makes Mr. Charles Harriet. I don't know if you want us to get so far as I don't know, but
are you talking to the producer or the Aga Khan? Are you talking to the producer or the Aga Khan?
We'll see about that. But thank you for your comments. Please let us know how we can make this show better for you. Someone there watching all the way from Bali, and you're saying, actually Malaba. Kaigwa Ayub saying, thanks for the great presentations all the way from Malaba. Many thanks, guys, for your show. Regards to all the people of Kabale and Chisoro. Banenga, you're sending greetings now. Ibra El Kava saying, now we are a class above. Classes of BBC, RTV, CCTV, Al Jazeera, CNN. That is where we are. Oh, thank you very much. That's a little tap on, our shoulders. Yes. Thank you very much. It's going to be a fantastic day for you, and I hope that you take it right now and make sure you go out and be a champion. From Mabel, Isma, Kasiate, Joel, and the whole entire crew, the cameraman, the best sound man in the region, Raymond. Thank you very much. Our Ruyonga over there. I can see you. That man brought Mr. Olaro to me this morning. Thank you guys for the fantastic work you're doing. And for the rest of you, have a great day.
It's easy to believe that God is ordering your steps when they take you down a smooth, easy path. But what about when your steps take you to rough places?
Kimberly Ray was just 3 years old the first time she was raped.
Mary Johnson's only son, Loramian, was killed by 4 gunshots.
So at the very tender age of 9, sex, drugs, and alcohol.
I was thinking about getting married. And when this happened,
my wife would be killed in a car accident.
It's painful.
When you allow the Holy Spirit to release you.
Once I took God to those secret places in my life that I never shared with no one humanly on this earth, I felt a sense of peace.
You are a spirit being, and the only way you can get fulfillment in that spirit is from God. Jesus Christ can bring happiness, He can bring peace, and give you a new beginning.
On the next episode of Rational Hearts.
The phone number isn't mine. It belongs to a colleague of mine, an oncologist. I noticed that you have a small nodule on one of your testicles, and you should check this out as soon as you